win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Astrolabe. It's Monday morning. What a Monday morning it is. A beautiful day in Trump's America. Hot and sticky as hell. Straight Buster says it's absolutely pissing rain out there. Yeah, I was doing that here a couple weeks ago, but no, not now. Not now. No, it is summer here. We are deep in the bowels of summer. But it's a good summer. I've got some interesting stuff here today for you guys. I didn't even realize, I have to confess, I think I failed my president. I didn't even realize that the White House Correspondents' Dinner was happening when it was happening. And I think, what was I doing? Was that Friday night? I was doing a show, I think, or something during it. I didn't even know it was happening. And so the clips that came out of it, people started dropping them in the voice chat during our voice chat on Friday night in the King Bill Discord. And people were dropping clips in there. I was like, these can't be real. You got to be kidding me. There's no way this is an actual thing that my president went in front of the White House press corps and said, Ryan Isaac. Oh, man. I'm sorry to hear that, Ryan Isaac. Man, what a bummer. Memory eternal for Gianna, the Black Lab. What a good girl. I still, it's been 7 months now, I think, since Patriot Pete died. And I still think about him probably every day. At some point every day, there's like a little thing that'll remind me of him, or I'll have that instinct to like look over or listen or hear what he's doing or where he's at. And every once in a while I can smell him. Man, that was one of his defining features. That dog stank. He loved rolling shit. But yeah, memory eternal to Patriot Pete too. Thank you for the $5, sir. I appreciate you. Please do model Ryan Isaac. Go to tips.kingpill.com. Support the show. I got a little story for you about Beastwood here in just a minute. Yeah, so I cannot believe the man continues to set a new standard for himself, and he just does not give a fuck. He gives exactly zero fucks. In fact, he thinks everyone else owes him fucks. He's given fucks for so long that he's ready to just start taking some fucks. And he took some fucks. Donald Trump took things to a whole nother level. And apparently they actually toned it down from what was intended, which I thought was kind of interesting. We'll get to that clip. But then on the back end of the show here, oh, that's right. You didn't hear what the donation said because I'm not sharing the screen right now. It was Ryan Isaac. He said, in honor of our Black Lab Gianna, we had to put her down last night. I don't know if pets will be in the eschaton, but I sure hope so. Yeah, I'm sure that we will still be able to experience them in some way in the eschaton. I'm sure of it. It's far too meaningful of an experience to not. But anyway, so yeah, we got these clips from the White House Correspondents' Dinner where Trump was just unloading. And some of the funniest things he's ever said. And it's like they're obviously all written for him, and he knows that they're written for him. And at one point, he even started getting mad at the scriptwriters because the jokes weren't landing. He's such a funny human being. But then here on the back end of the show, I've got this video from Simone and Malcolm Collins, who I don't know if you guys are. I know some of you guys are familiar with them. There's some Based Camp fans in the King Pill Discord. I know that they're a quirky couple. I like them. I find them very interesting. I haven't watched them as much. I'm actually going to start going down a little bit of a base camp rabbit hole, I think. But somehow they came across my algorithm a week ago or so, maybe. And so I've started just kind of put them into the rotation. And they have this very interesting video about, they titled it, America is Heading for Civil War, so says Chimp Research. So we're going to be chimping today on the back end of the show with some kind of strange theater kid types. But there's actually a very interesting insight that comes out of this chimp research. Now, I kind of reject the premise. I'm not a human beings evolved from monkeys person, so I don't think that there's a as close of a tie as someone else might between those phenomena. But I do think that to the extent that we can study animals and animal behavior and learn things from it that might be relevant to human behavior, even sometimes it's just like you see the pattern with the animals and then you go, I wonder if that pattern's applicable to human beings. Oh, it turns out it actually is applicable to human beings, which isn't necessarily an indication that it's directly derivative of it. It's just like you've discovered a pattern here in reality that bears that is grounded somehow. So it's manifesting in these different domains. So there's a key insight that they drew out from this chimp research that I think is very relevant, and it's actually interesting to me. They don't make this connection, but it's interesting to me. We've been talking about JD Vance here for the past had some more JD Vance focused content for the last week or so. And this there's a direct connection there, I think. So we'll see if we can get to that here on the back end and talk a little bit about JD Vance. Now I have to give you guys a little warning here. I told you last week that we were having like kind of weird electrical issues seemingly with the security system in the house. And so the ADT guy is coming out here at some point today. He's supposed to come out some point between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. our time. It's 12:22 here right now. I don't know if he's going to be here early. I don't know if he's going to be here late. But there's a possibility that he does show up in the middle of the show. So there may be maybe fire alarms that go off or something. I don't know. But I'm going to try to manage that as it comes and hope that he just doesn't come until the show is done. But a little warning ahead of time. Okay, so I've got a wife jack submission here and a little story that is also a wife jack submission. So Eastwood came in on the show the other night and broke the news that his first tooth is loose. He went downstairs after that, as I understand the story, and if Amy's in the chat, she can correct my recollection here. But as I understand the story, he went downstairs and he said that he asked Amy something about the tooth fairy. And like if the tooth fairy exists or if the tooth fairy is going to give him money or something like that. And she said that the tooth fairy doesn't exist. And here's, okay. Then she decided, she changed her mind later on and decided that she actually wanted to do the tooth fairy thing with him. So she had to figure out a way out of this. She put herself into a pickle. She had to come up with a way to solve this problem that she had inadvertently created. And Ryan Isaac says, if asking Jonathan Pajot, the answer is yes. Yes. See, exactly. All of these different, these little imaginary rituals that we have, Santa Claus and Tooth Fairy, like they're derivative from these myths, and there's something to those myths. They're worth doing. She says, Eastwood said, the Tooth Fairy isn't real, right? And then she didn't lie to him. But then she decided later on, she wanted to do the Tooth Fairy thing with him. So she concocted a plan. She is a planning woman. She sat down said to herself, how do I get myself out of this problem? And the plan she came up with is, I'm hoping he's not listening right now. But he probably kind of figured it out himself, but he's a smart kid. The plan she came up with was having the Tooth Fairy drop by the house and leave a message, not addressed to Eastwood, but addressed to Amy, chastising her for You gently, very graciously. The Tooth Fairy is a very kind and gracious fairy, but chastising her gently for spreading fake news. And so there was a knock at the door, and Eastwood ran to see who it was, and he opened it, and there was a bunch of glitter down on the front doormat, and this little letter was taped to the door. And this is what the letter said. So it was addressed to Mrs. Amy Erickson in the big bedroom downstairs from the very real Tooth Fairy. And he picked this up and he read through this whole thing himself. Dear Mrs. Erickson, hello there. I've been fluttering around your house for a while now, and I couldn't help but overhear something rather surprising. It seems you told a certain almost 6-year-old that I don't exist. Oh my stars. That simply won't do. I am very real, thank you very much. I've been collecting shiny little teeth and leaving tiny treasures under pillows for more years than most humans can count. Eastwood's smile is already on my special list, and I've been patiently waiting for his first loose tooth. I know you were trying to be honest and truthful. That's a wonderful thing. Even the best grown-ups can get a few fantastical facts mixed up now and then. Consider this my friendly and slightly sparkly correction. The Tooth Fairy is real. I exist. I visit. And I'm very much looking forward to meeting your little one properly one of these nights. Please pass along my warmest regards to that wonderful boy of yours. Tell him I'm real, I'm kind, and I'm just a little bit silly. Just like this letter. With a twinkle and a wink, and when he read it, he said, with a twinkle and a winkle, the Tooth Fairy. P.S. No hard feelings at all. Even the most loving parents can get a detail wrong from time to time. I'm simply glad we could clear things up together. So he was very tickled. He was very delighted by it, but he was also like, he was like smelling a rat. He's kind of like, how'd this happen? What's going on? Just like looking around, kind of looking out outside the house. So, yes, this was Amy's fun. And see, this right here is just an example of how you can use the robots to how you can use the robots to raise your child. Fairies could be here, he thought. That's exactly what he was doing. Fairies could be here, he thought. Straight Buster, you're killing me. The Yuck His Yum story. What was the thing that sparked it? I remember what he said, but I can't remember the story that built up to it. Remind me of what it was. You could message me over here if you want. But give me spark my memory on that one again. While you're doing that, here is the Wife Jack's submission for the day. And I resemble this.
We're the Blueberry Boys. We've been getting a lot of comments asking us to introduce ourselves. Hey guys, we're the Blueberry Boys. We've been getting a lot of comments asking us to introduce ourselves. So my name is Cruz Edwards, and I go to Davis County High School.
I'm Levi Hausner, and I also go to Davis County High School.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Joe Mason, and I also go to Davis County High School.
My name is Parker Malone, and I do not go to Davis County High School.
Very obviously does not go to Davis County High School.
I'm homeschooled.
Mm-hmm. And in case y'all are wondering, we are not brothers, and we've all collectively been playing together for probably a year, but we started the band probably 4 or 5 years ago.
We're just
buds. We're just buddies.
Brothers.
Different mothers, you know. All right.
All right, what about some Wilhoffs?
Let's do some Wilhoffs.
Prepare your souls to be heartened, filled with patriot energy. Due to the guitar. the kids are gonna be all right.
If y'all have any more questions, comment them. All right.
Your move, libtards. Your move. Oh, this is the high school that I went to was basically comprised entirely of guys like this. This was my my high school experience was guys just getting together with their instruments and just jamming out like that. Good one. That's that old shit kicking music. Yeah. All right, now I haven't watched this yet. I just bookmarked it, and why don't we experience it for the first time together? The new trailer for Coyote vs. Acme has been released in theaters on August 28th. I don't know whether I'm going to be interested, excited, happily anticipating, or not. So let's find out. All right, I'm laughing already.
Have you ever set a big stack of TNT on the road, hoping to blow up your nemesis, but the detonator itself explodes? Have you ever pulled the ripcord of your parachute and only a bunch of silverware comes out? It's not your fault.
Acme is evil. You're looking at the guy who is taking on the biggest corporation in the world.
They're suing us for every Acme product.
Acme denies all charges. That is for you. All I gotta do is walk out the store right now. Please don't. This is not funny. I thought cartoons are supposed to be funny.
Is Wile E. Coyote supposed to be like Thomas Massey or something?
It's exciting. All eyes on you, ready to show what you got.
Acme has knowingly been making dangerous products for decades.
Is there anyone in the whole world who cares what happened to the coyote at all?
Yeah, I do.
He's one of the most hard-working people I've ever met. He would never think of quitting. And I think everyone should be inspired by that.
I don't just want him scared, I want him ruined.
I get to see John Cena punch Tweety Bird?
I'm here for the pantsless modeling gig.
What'd you see?
I taught.
You taught? I don't pay you to tink you taught. I pay you to talk.
I did taught.
What did you teach? What did you talk?
Only in theaters August 28th. Get tickets at coyotevoicesacme.com.
Okay, that's fine. That's not a theater one, but I'll probably watch it. That looks entertaining enough. Yeah, I like watching these movies and seeing the thing that I can't not do when I watch something is think about the underlying themes and the the message that's trying to be delivered through it and what sort of tropes they're playing on. And there's a way in which movies especially have this way of both they reflect the zeitgeist, but they also lead the zeitgeist. So they kind of show the zeitgeist to itself, but in doing that they move it. That's how the zeitgeist moves around. It moves around by looking at itself through the things that it produces and then deciding which thing it wants to follow. It's a very it's a weird thing. It's a cross between spiritual and biological. And really, I think this is what spiritual means. We've created these separate categories to talk about things, but then it's like you create a category to talk for the purpose of conversation, and then you lose the origin of the category. So you can talk about, you can have like material things or things that pertain directly to what you would consider material, but obviously, like, you zoom in far enough and it's hard to tell where material stops and immaterial begins. So it's like useful as a figure of speech in certain types of conversations, but then if you lose the other half of the category, or the other part of the category, then you're flying blind. So I think spiritual actually ought to have, the way that we use spiritual, it ought to have direct, inherent biological components to it, or implications. There are direct biological implications to spiritual things. So physiognomy is one of these sorts of things. The fact that people who engage in lots and lots of evil become, or people who have very evil souls begin to have an evil appearance. And then like, to what extent do ideologies become genetic after, like, how many generations does it take for an ideology that starts off as like thoughts in someone's head to actually become encoded genetically in their descendants? So at what point does it go from an ideology to actually a genetic predisposition? You know, if a particular ideology, just hypothetically, happened to lead people toward, for whatever reason, they end up clustering around a particular geographic location with particular sorts of minerals and vitamins and fruits and fish and whatever the types of meats and berries and all these sorts of things that are there, they're consuming those things, and it's gradually changing them. And then there's different levels of barometric pressure and different altitudes and amount of sun that you're getting on a yearly basis. All these sorts of things are going to, after enough time, they're going to start changing the actual genetics of the people. And if all of the people who think a particular way are clustered in a particular geographic region, then those things are going to start to become proxies for each other. The things that they think, the beliefs that they have, the interface that they use to interact with the world, and the structures they build around them, the sorts of things that they are wired to prioritize, how they settle disputes, all these sorts of things, these become genetically, I think, expressed after enough time. So this actually is sort of one of the things that's playing around in the background as I'm thinking about especially the thing later with the chimps. There's a thing that I'm kind of working on, and we were talking about it in the King Pilled voice chat on Friday night. We went until 6:05 a.m. my time. I was in there for 10 hours. We had some good conversation. And one of the things that we were talking about is an idea that I'm kind of playing around with, is that I think liberalism is, on a certain level, liberalism is genetically proper to the Western man, generically the white man. I think liberalism is a social technology that has evolved and been instantiated across sufficient generations and stress tested over and over again and engineered, and it's got particular characteristics to it that allow it to be scaled at different levels and different rates. And I think at this point, it's something that is genetically proper to the white man. Now, then you have to start getting pedantic about what liberalism is specifically. But I'm talking about the particular conception of human beings that led to what today are the liberal institutions, that led to the assumptions about human nature and about class structure and about the way that human beings interact with each other, that led to the the derivation and the evolution of all the different liberal structures. This is the technology for how white people organize themselves. And you see it present all throughout all different aspects of white people society. And this is like specifically like white people who are Christianized. Just as a matter of historical genealogy, we're now going on, we're depending on where you would want to cut it off, we're in the vicinity of a millennium into white people fundamentally perceiving themselves through a liberal lens and acting and organizing things accordingly. And so by liberal, I mean like the sovereignty of the individual, rules around property rights, things like freedom of speech, right to a jury trial, or a right to a trial and right to a trial by a jury of your peers. These sorts of principles. These are not. There's like bits and pieces of them and certain variations of them that are all over the rest of the world that predated the impact of so-called white people to those regions. But I think liberalism as a political technology, whether you're talking fascism or communism or libertarianism or liberalism or conservatism or neoconservatism or any of these various different derivations of it, I think these are all things that are they're like biological manifestations of white people organizing themselves. And one of the big questions is there's a matter of scale. Like how do you scale up in a way that doesn't, like, you have to be able to maintain a hierarchy, but then there has to be a way of keeping that hierarchy agile. And so you want it to be just strong enough to be able to maintain its own coherence, but not so strong that it becomes brittle. And the more people that you move into the hierarchy, the more that it expands. You could think of this from the beginning as like one family intermarrying with another family, and then those families intermarrying with the same, and beginning to build out this network or this coalition of families. And then you have the head patriarch, and then he's going to have like lieutenants or lords or nobles or captains or his like next in command. They're gonna form into these hierarchical structures that they use to govern the society and navigate their community of people, however large it is, through whatever needs to be navigated through. And there's constantly going to be things that threaten to pull the hierarchy apart, whether by creating conflict and strife between the higher and lower levels of it, or conflict and strife among equal levels on the hierarchy. So you need to be able to grow, but you need a governance structure that is consistent through all different levels of scale. Can it maintain coherency as it adds complexity? And technology becomes something that we can use to mediate this process. So something like voting. Voting would be a type of technology that you would use, because you're like, okay, well, on one hand, like we need to find a balance between just one person, everyone always doing what one person wants, and just never getting anything done because everyone's always trying to do their own thing. These are, in a certain sense, these are kind of the same thing. So you have to be able to balance the higher and the lower. You have to keep them in tension with each other, and yet still able to scale, still able to add new sub-hierarchies into the main hierarchy. Because also, if you're not growing, you're dying. This is like a principle of life throughout all of life. There is no static state where you can just like tread water and just remain flat. everything is always moving. And if you're standing still, everything is moving past you. Death is really like the slowing down. You're slowing down relative to your surroundings. So you have to be able to grow. You have to be able to maintain your agility and your dynamism. And liberal institutions are as a comprehensive term. The liberal institutions are a massive technology that has been they've been optimized throughout generations and generations and generations through all sorts of different crises. So they've developed an incredible amount of staying power. And I think that if you're, people talk like post-liberal and they talk anti-liberal and on a certain level, like I agree with some of these things. If you're talking about like the organized, the spirit of organized political resentment as liberalism, then like I agree with the commentary on that. I'm talking strictly on a political technology level. The self-perception of the people with respect to one another as political organisms and basic expectations that are hard-coded into the genetics of the people because they've been around for so long. And so I think part of my thesis here is that the American system of political economy and the particular character of American federalism is a legitimate evolutionary step function on the liberalism developing better and better political technology progression scale. Because you've got like Dunbar's number, you've got these various different observations that show that beyond a certain level of scale, human beings just aren't capable of organizing. Their ability to organize degrades like the more you try to scale up. And so you hit a certain point and you kind of can't get past that unless you can mediate that process technologically. And that technology can be like literal technology, like the voting process or the specific voting technology that you use, or like machines or like that sort of thing. I can be in that sense, and it can also be in the sense of a widely held belief and common practice that all the people in that given region adhere to. That itself is a technological solution to a problem. So there's a number of different, there's a kind of a wide variety of different governing technologies that were employed in Europe. And there's a lot, like if you zoom out far enough, you can draw parallels across all of them. But America was an intentional political project. I'm not saying it was necessarily intended to be that, but this is how it worked out. It was an intentional political project built around learning from systems of the past and rejecting the bad and keeping the good, essentially. And we're going to create a hybrid system that's built upon, that borrows from some of these principles, but innovates then in these other areas. And I genuinely think, if for no other reason than just because the persistence of America, it's still relatively young as nations go, but it's not showing any sign of slowing down. And one of the things we were talking about is I just watched a video the other day of it was like a brief history of the Civil War, just basically going through all of the key events in order and identifying who was at which battle and what the casualty numbers were, what the size of the militaries were, that sort of thing. But a lot of this is stuff that I've read a long time ago, and then I kind of haven't thought about for a long time, and then coming back around and thinking through these things again, looking at them in a new light. And this was the first time that I've ever seen it laid out on a map. It's like a little animated thing, like zooming around and like zooms in on this area and then pulls out and says, meanwhile, over here, yada, yada, yada. And I was struck by the sheer breadth of territory. Because I've never looked at it in that context before. I'd never really had it sink in just how much territory was impacted by the Civil War. Despite the fact that I was also struck by how low the casualty numbers were per conflict. They were higher than like casualty numbers by and large in the 7 Years' War 100 years earlier. This is a big evolution in military technology as well. But I was struck by, this would be like, a couple thousand guys on one side and a couple thousand guys on the other side fought each other for several hours, and a couple hundred men died. It's a lot, but it's also not, you think about like pitched battles and 100,000 men going up against 300,000 men and, walls of bodies and all this sort of thing. So I'm just thinking about like these things in relation to one another, the sheer geography that was impacted and ultimately unified by the Union winning the Civil War. But then also how much of that geography was also not directly impacted by it. Like battles were only fought in particular areas, and there was little skirmishes and there was like unrest and other things elsewhere. But you could have lived through the entire Civil War in various different places in America and been relatively untouched by it. And so it just struck me as I was watching that. I was like, everyone talks about, Napoleon trying to unify Europe and there's all these different attempts to unify Europe. And then you look at what Lincoln did, and just objectively, that's an incredible accomplishment to be able to unify a landmass that large. However it's done, like I'm not quibbling about it. I'm saying if you're just looking at this as like an accomplishment you have to reach, like I need to go unify this entire landmass, and I need to have that unification actually cohere and then like progress forward. And what followed it was a boom. And they expanded and covered even more territory. And sure, Lincoln himself died. If you're drawing a parallel between like Lincoln, Napoleon, Lincoln himself died right after it, obviously, but his successor took over his office and immediately just like expanded the powers of the office even further. And I've spent so much of my life just thinking about the thinking of shifts in power and successions from monarch to monarch in Europe versus what happens in the United States with presidents. And it's genuinely really remarkable how persistently stable the United States system of government is. And the fact that we've got this entire continent of 50 different states that are independent to a certain level, but people still have this perception of, well, the states are supposed to have some level of say-so themselves. The states are independent political entities themselves. That still persists to a certain degree. And particularly in for example, like the judiciary. But it's really just, the United States is a really remarkable political project. And once we start adding in the reindustrialization and then AI, I fully understand why. I understand the people who say that this is a critical national security issue and that it would be egregiously irresponsible as a nation to drop the ball on the whatever it would be, like the downstream effects of the AI boom. Because I think once you start incorporating AI, and it's really going to depend, like everything I always say, it depends on the wisdom of the men in charge. Like ultimately the quality of the character and the wisdom of the men in charge is the thing that's going to, like, if that's not in place, none of the other policies matter. But once you start integrating AI into the existing structure, I think the United States, the American system, is both uniquely positioned as a matter of like just the present time and geographically. And I think the American system is uniquely suited for the integration of AI as a tool of governance formally. Like, I mean, it's already in the background. It already is for sure. But like, I'm talking formally, like formally embracing it, AI Congress sorts of things. And I think that it's just going to absolutely bollocks all the different European governing structures. I think they're going to get just absolutely obliterated by it, one-shotted completely. But it's going to serve as jet fuel to the American system. I think there is a tremendous amount of potential energy sitting inside America right now. And once it's unlocked and directed, it's going to be like nothing this world has ever seen before. And this is a great thing that Donald Trump provided to us. I was posting about this in the King Pill Discord earlier today. And I just decided now I wanted to bring it up. So this is the place where sometimes I'll post things if I'm like working on an idea or I just don't really want to post something publicly. That's the place I do it. So you should, if you want to hear those thoughts, go to the King Pill Discord, kingpill.com. I said Patrick Casey from Restoring Order with Patrick Casey said, quote, "J.D. Vance needs to believe in his own power," end quote. And I finally have words for something I've been circling around for months. This is something I've tried to figure out. Like every time I listen to him, I'm just struck by him. I'm just like, he is so good. He's our guy, so clearly our guy. But there's just something that's been just kind of niggling at me. What is this thing that just, it seems there's something that's not quite right there with JD. And I think it's this right here. He needs to believe in his own power. I'm not convinced yet that he believes in his own power the way that Donald Trump does. He's never going to be Donald Trump. But this is the thing that what I went on to say. I said one of Trump's biggest mimetic, mileage may vary. One of his biggest mimetic impacts has been showing men that they can just believe in their own power. This is, you can just do things. You could just believe in your own power and take risks and just do things. You could just carry yourself as someone who believes in his own power. And I'm not saying you're doing this in a like a self-worship sort of way, just like believing in your own capacity to do things. Being confident, bold, courageous. You can just portray this picture of calm confidence and just do things. Take big swings. Roll with the punches. Laugh in the face of the people who are out to get you. And just enjoy life. Nothing's going to get you down. No matter what happens, you're having fun. And this is the best life you could live. You can just do that. The screeching Longhausian harridans, some of whom speak through men, they will claim that you can't. They will tell you that everything sucks and is bad and that it's your fault that it's that way. Others will tell you everything sucks and it's bad and nobody can do anything about it. But they're telling you the same thing. They're telling you not to believe in your own power. And I added up, I said, sidebar, most of the therapy queen, Tumblr, Instagram, crystal chick language is actually true, but only for men with a fundamental desire for conquest. That it sounds gay to our ear is because it is sexually disordered when a woman talks that way about herself. I just need to just spend some time with, my inner self and let my inner, self shine through. And so that's why I need to travel the world and put myself in a bunch of dangerous situations. No, you're talking about being a pirate. You need to have a baby. The boys need to follow their hearts and get in trouble and power up, but not in a gay way. The boys need to do that. They need to go on that hero's journey. They need to be cut off and sent out on their own at some point. So why basically every society has had some ritual. Every human society has had some ritual like this, where young men, when they reach a certain age, are sent away from home. When they're young, they spend time with the women and the girls. When they reach a certain age, they get to go spend time with the men. They have that coming of age, maybe 12, and they go spend, then from then forward, they're there with the men, learning with the men. But at a certain point, they get kicked out of the house. You got to get out. You got to go. You got to take risks. You got to get in trouble. You got to go, go hitchhike around the country, or go backpack through Europe, or go live out of your car and start a business, or, you got to go do something. You got to go. You got to suffer. You got to take risks. You got to fail. You got to go to jail. You got to get your heart broken. These are the things that the men need to do so they can go unlock their inner selves and reach their potential. Women need to have some babies. The women are there so that once the boy does that, then he can come back and he can put babies in her. When the women start doing that, they're like, oh, I need to just have some me time, and I'm trying to discover myself, and it sounds like to the ear because it is gay. It is sexually disordered. Women are not supposed to do that. A woman finds herself in the man who's closest to her. She cannot not. That'll be her father, and then that'll be her husband. That's where she finds herself. The man. The man must conquer. And while you're conquering, be sure to get an American do. Have you done your patriot duty yet? How about trying to get a green can on a green screen? Yeah, it's not really showing up, but American do. We got patriotic companies. Give me that patriotic goy slop. I'll drink that shit. Anyways, so how do they get off on that? Oh yeah. Showing men that they can just believe in their own power. Severe obesity, how much of this is because of daddy issues? Well, very much. That's the thing is the thing that causes societal breakdown is the severing of the links between fathers and their sons, between the successive male generations. When the son begins to hate his father, meaning when the son begins to hate his ancestors, that's when the breakdown is present at hand. And the only thing that you can do is ensure that that breakdown does not persist across the next generation and the generation after and the generation after it. The only way you can fix a generational breakdown is through a generational reconstruction. And by necessity, generational reconstructions take decades. There is no just fix it button for generational reconstructions. ADT is here. Oh boy. All right. Well, apologies if you start hearing fire alarms here in the office, and he may end up having to come in and check out the fire alarm in here. So if so, we'll see what happens. Okay, let's keep the show going here. I don't remember what kicked me off on all of that, but the White House posted this. Hop in, best dimensions yet. Don and JD. Now, I saw this and I was like, oh, that's fun. That's fun. And I saw people commenting on it. We're talking about in a couple different group chats and in the Discord. People were like, oh, the Reddit atheists are going to be so angry that the White House is using Rick and Morty stuff for their social media videos. And meanwhile, the replies are this weird mix of people who love it, Jeff Accordion, Patriot Spotted, people who love it, and people who are mad about it. Babe, wake up. The White House is posting coal again. We're on the worst timeline possible. Imagine a timeline where the northern hemisphere is Christian and homogeneously white. I would be a spaceship captain. With some AI stuff about a Trump Trojan horse, a bunch of Romans with Roman soldiers carrying shields with Israeli flags on them. MAGA? Well, that just sounds like jewelry with extra steps. Everyone's like, oh, the left is going to hate this. The left doesn't give a shit about it. It's the based right-wingers who hate it. Like, what? What? How are you mad about a video on the internet? You realize that there's a social media team, right? You realize that there's someone who's making a mediocre salary to just make videos and post them on the internet. Wouldn't you like to be the guy who's making funny videos and posting them from the White House account? Don't we want our guys to get hired? All of our meme lords and stuff? You see how these people are just like a different derivation of shitlib who's like, oh, it's like decorum. It's so inappropriate. It's immature. Shut the fuck up and have fun. Look at this. Secretary Sean Duffy announcing freedom haulers. America's brave veterans answer the call to defend our freedom. We want those same strong values of duty, grit, and discipline on America's roads for another mission. Trucking. This isn't the first time we've heard about this. Check it out.
Are you a veteran and not an illegal alien?
Yippee-ki-yay.
Did you drive things like this? Or this? Maybe even this? You drove the toughest roads on Earth, defending our freedoms.
Stick around.
Why not get paid to drive on ours?
You show me a pay stub for $72,000 on it, I quit my job right now.
How about 6 figures? Become a freedom hauler.
You ever think about that? I like it.
We like it too.
It's a real blessing.
And we're blowing up fraud. We want you on the front lines. Your road, your rules. Make your own hours, your schedule.
You sure about that?
Oh, we're sure.
Keep talking.
And did I mention medical benefits and sign-on bonuses? Training costs are completely covered for veterans because our heroes treat safety like a mission and rack up more miles doing it. Best part? You'll be on the road in a few weeks.
It's happening! Everybody stay calm!
What are you waiting for?
You can do it!
Your next mission deploys now.
It's damn it, Jeremy says, meme-occupied government, and I'm loving it. You know what else it is? It is millennial-occupied government. The millennials are taking over. This is why everyone is mad. Everyone is mad. Everyone is mad because they hate the millennials. The millennials are an easy punching bag. Their entire generation has just been being a punching bag. But you know what? We can take it. We can take it. We have been honed in this fire our entire lives. This is why the millennial generation is the hero generation. We will save the institutions. We're going to save them with millennial memes. Oh, yeah, Living Dead. He says, oh no, the admin is trying to take back the culture. Full circle on millennials. Yeah, right. The millennial occupied government is going to mog you. For real, though, like, this is just good. It's just good. Lining up veterans with trucking jobs to force out illegals and attack fraud? How can you not get on board with this? Much less stand against it. Not just demand more of it. It's so good. Speaking of millennials. No, Tom Homan is not a millennial, but you can tell that he has some staffers who are.
And in June, we had the highest numbers of arrests in the history of the agency of ICE, and July's tracking to even beat that. So we're hitting on all cylinders now. We're deportation maxing since we're fully funded, and we just got to keep going. And in June,
you can tell the way he says it.
Deportation maxing, deportation maxing, deportation maxing, deportation maxing, deportation maxing, deportation maxing, deportation maxing.
Someone make it into a song. Yeah, he says it with a little chuckle. You can tell. Some guy guy working with him or something was like, hey, you should totally go on News Nation and say that we're deportation maxing. The people will love it. And he's like, all right, kid, whatever. And then he says it, and as it comes out of his mouth, he's like, I fucking hate my life. I'm going to be... That kid that told me that, he's getting a swirly when I get back to the office. I can't believe that I just got captured on TV saying deportation maxing. You know what, Tom? We love you for it. We absolutely love you for it. You're coming on this ride with us too, baby. All right, now, my president was in extremely rare form the other night. We're going to start it off with a bang. This was the one that I heard it, I saw the text for it, and I was like, no, there is no... He actually said that? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump, a fine gentleman named Donald John Trump, went up in front of the White House press corps and said, or the White House correspondents in with all the journalists, and said this.
The gunshots, many people yelled, get down, which caused Nicki Minaj to start twerking. Do you believe it? Get down. She's the only one that really understood what that meant.
You see Hegseth? Look at Hegseth right here in the middle.
She's the only one that really understood what that meant. It's quite an evening. But tonight we come back together to answer.
I did not think that I was going to get to hear my president say twerking. I cannot. If I'd have known that I could have voted for this, I would have committed so much voter fraud. Here's another one.
Supposed to be serious? Am I supposed to be a comedian? So I guess you said maybe a little bit of everything. I know one thing I could never have done, the speech that I had ready just a short while. Oh, that was going to be a doozy. I was so psyched. I was going to rip people. And I don't know, just something changed.
Look how pale everyone is. You can tell these people don't spend enough time outside. I mean, like, pale is better than other colors, I suppose, but just look how pale they are. Oh, Stephen Miller, though, he's perfect. He is the perfect color. Look at him glowing over here. He just pops right off the screen.
It's really for the better, but I just wouldn't want to do that. But we'll do a little ripping if you don't mind.
We'll do a little ripping if you don't mind. Yes, he did. He did do a little ripping. I'm very curious to know. He said it was going to be a doozy. He had to change the speech that he was going to give before. I wonder why. I wonder what he was going to say in that other speech. I wonder what he changed. Because, like, I can't imagine that he would have been like, oh, I can't make that joke because there was a shooting that happened at the last one. Like, it didn't really seem to make him hold back on anything else. So I really, really wonder what they changed. Like, I have a feeling it wasn't just going to be jokes. There was something that, like, the political climate has changed in a certain way that he decided to change what he was going to say. Here's him continuing on that same angle.
But this place is really the largest group of Trump derangement syndrome people ever put together at one time, I suspect. Some of you are lucky that our last dinner was cut short because I had brought with me what would possibly have been, I'm telling you, I had something. I was going to go after you. I feel so badly doing this. It's got to be such a letdown. Oh, yay. But your lives were really in danger the last time.
So he's saying, like, I was really going to go after you. You guys are getting off easy. Living debts is probably some stuff they're no longer willing to tip their hand over. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it was something along those lines. The reason why I suspect that the reason that he decided to change tack or whatever was not because it would have been insensitive or something like that. There was some other reason, and he's like bummed out that he can't do that. Camo Aquaticus says he's setting expectations. You hear him say he toned it down and don't get so offended when he rips you. That's a good point. It could be that. Yeah, that's some high level game right there. Set the low expectations, so then when he absolutely eviscerates you, you're like, oh, well, I guess it could have been worse. Here he is having an autism moment. You see the sort of thing that my president has autism moments about.
Tonight, because it's a smaller room, it's a beautiful room, it's a luxury room. See those beautiful chandeliers? I can tell you everything about them if you'd like to know. See that beautiful Capitol above? See the beautiful Capitol? See everything, the brass. Those chandeliers are great. I'm looking at it, I'm saying, I wonder if I could, I sold this building. And they're doing a nice job, but they're nice people. But I'll tell you, I'm looking at it, I'm saying, I wonder if I could walk out with those chandeliers because you can't buy them. They're very special. I won't tell you the...
Walking out of the White House Correspondents' Dinner with a chandelier underneath his jacket. Melania, put your jacket over here.
Walk out with those chandeliers because you can't buy them. They're very special. I won't tell you the fact. I won't mention that they're Czech crystal because I'd like to say everything's made here, but they are Czech crystal.
I like this thing that this thing he's got going where he says, I won't say the thing that I then say. I won't say that it's Czech crystal because I want everything to be made in America, but it's Czech crystal.
And they are beautiful. And the Waldorf people are doing a really nice job. We're proud of them, actually, because, when I left town, I was a little angry. I was a little bit angry. I was offered a nice price. I said, I'm getting out of that place. And then I said, let's make a comeback. And but I was very proud of this building. This building was hot. Remember the lobby floor? 82,000 feet. For those in the real estate business, 82,000 feet. That's a major floor. That thing was packed every single night.
He knows the inner details about the chandeliers that are there. He knows the square footage and everything. The man was a hands-on real estate magnate. This was not some guy that was just camped out on a stack of money. No, he was spending it. He has spent money like nobody else and has built so much, and he was directly personally engaged, invested in all of it. Like some of you, if you're from a city, you've been in the city, whatever your local home city is, you've been around there, you know all the little the lore from the different alleyways or where the different restaurants are, what different cultures tend to cluster around in one area, whatever. The man is a New Yorker. He has been on the ground, beating the streets of New York for his entire life. Extremely hands-on CEO.
It was packed, mostly Republicans, I would say, but it was packed every single night. It almost brings back memories. But I left town.
T-Con says he's the only hetero interior decorator. Yeah. Please do tip your streamer, folks. Tips.kingbuild.com. That is a very sad, lonely, short, stubby little pink line up there at the very, very top. We'd like to see that line wrapped all the way around the screen. So please, no freeloading. Go to the tips link, tips.kingbuild.com, and support the show. Keep me in business here. Keep me from being chastised by my wife for collecting insufficient bacon. You can also go to Cash App or Venmo at Kingpilt for both of those. Just let me know in the chat if you do, and I will give you credit and add it to the goal. All right, now we're it's called we do a little friendly fire too, a little little fun among boys.
That everyone finally got to enjoy
Welcome to the sup,
entire
homos.
very
Thank you, Emperor Atreides. Don Treader Voyage. Good to see you. Congratulations on the gifted sub.
delicious beef tenderloins, very special beef. And I want you all to know that Bobby Kennedy, who's right here, personally ran over the cow in his car.
His delivery.
And he cut it up and he brought it here for you to eat tonight, so it's very fresh. And Bobby also suggested an appetizer featuring his favorite cut of male raccoon roadkill. But we drew the line at that, Cheryl. We said, no, we're not going to do that. That everyone.
I wonder why he said male raccoon roadkill. Was there a missing word there? Is it just supposed to imply the raccoon body part? Living Dead says, imagine being him and having to hold all of these esoteric architectural factoids in your head right alongside how to negotiate global nuclear and petroleum tensions with a possibly dead, likely gay Islamic fundamentalist. Nobody could do it like my president. My president is the ultimate multitasker.
If you wanted to see someone lose consciousness on the south lawn of the White House, all you had to do is ask Joe Biden a question. Remember that. Oh, you think I'm kidding. But the big fight was such an amazing success that tonight I'm playing if...
He's talking about the UFC fights. So this is another one of those that I was like, he's at that age of old guy now where it's lining up perfectly because he's at that age where he's losing his filter. He's just like, I'm just going to say whatever I want. And also it's like, it's appropriate to start raising the stakes on the jabs that you're making before the roundhouse punch comes in.
But I can exclusively reveal to you this evening that for the heaviest of the heavyweights, we will have sloppy Chris Christie, one of the sloppiest human beings you'll ever meet, fighting, I would say, I could mention the governor of Chicago, but I'm going to mention instead Jerry Nadler.
I'm pretty sure that the governor of Chicago was not in there. It was Chris Christie and Jerry Nadler. And so he just went out of his way to just toss a stray over toward J.B. Pritzker. What's even funnier about all of this is that Chris Christie has like decimated his own reputation by groveling at the feet of Trump. And from the sound of it, like inside stories and stuff that I've heard, he's actually a pretty sophisticated political operator. Like he knows what he's doing. He's a valuable guy to have around. That's why he's had him around as like a campaign consultant and stuff. Because he does have, he has value that he could bring to the table. And then he just has to take it like this.
Human beings you'll ever meet. Fighting, I would say, I could mention the governor of Chicago, but I'm going to mention instead Jerry Nadler. And they're fighting for a big piece of cheesecake. Big, fat piece of cheesecake. Who the hell wrote that line? But it is true. And then you have Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC +3. That's her 3 friends, right? AOC +3, and I watched her give that answer.
He's a poet.
When she was over in Europe. It was not a good answer. If I ever gave that answer, I would be out of politics. Remember, you cannot have a 19-second wait time to answer a really a very quite simple question.
My president is media literate. You cannot have a 19-second wait time when you answer a question. You got to be snappy with your answers.
But we'll then have a rematch against an extreme, simple question on a foreign policy from Munich.
Now this one here is very interesting. You know, the notorious Trump roast where Obama was talking shit to him, and you have that shot of Trump just sitting there, just taking it all in as they're all roasting him. Trump gives his take on that night.
Because I have been here actually quite a few times, people don't realize. And there's one time in particular when Barack Hussein Obama hosted it. Do you know who that is?
He said the thing! Barack Hussein Obama. Do you know who that is?
And he hit me hard, but actually he hit me with respect. I was sitting with Melania at a table, and you had Brooklyn Decker, supermodel, at a table right next to her. And I really always will like her. She's married to a great tennis player, Andy
Roddick.
She was at the table.
He just casually is like, oh yeah, I was sitting at the table with my supermodel wife and my supermodel friend while Barack Hussein Obama was insulting me.
I want a Trump comedy ramble during public Transtifa mass exec.
I don't know if you actually did the asterisks yourself, or if it put that in itself. Like, did Kofi censor what you said? It'd be very interesting if it did. Thank you, Arthurian, for the $10. Obviously, that was mass executions. You censored it. Okay. Thank you, man.
Not at my table. And I have watched this clip thousands of times. They keep playing it because they think that was the evening I decided to run for president. It was not. In fact, I loved the evening.
It was not the evening he decided to run for president. Interesting. Mr. President, are you saying that you decided to run before that evening or after? I'm very curious to know this. But then he says, no, he actually loved it. Obama was very respectful to him.
I looked at my wife. I said, can you believe it? All these people, that's all they're doing is talking about me. I love this dinner. It's true. And Obama was nice. It's amazing how things work out. He actually showed a picture of the White House with a big Trump on top. Like I put a sign. And, I'm sort of doing that when you think about it, right? I mean, he wasn't really wrong. But no, he was respectful. He was good. And
I recognize this guy. I don't remember who he is, though. That is the face of libtard seething.
But it had nothing to do. It had nothing to do. I just decided that I wanted to make America great again. This had nothing to do with that dinner.
So people have long, like he said, people have long speculated that's been the meme, that he was so angry that he decided to run for president and destroy Obama's legacy. And he says that he's seen this clip so many times. He's watched this clip so many times. Why would he have watched it so many times? Well, he tells you. They're all talking about me. He's putting a Trump logo on the White House. He's forecasting the future. He knows exactly what's happening there. People were being preconditioned to accept his inevitability. By them attacking him, they were anointing him. If he recognizes this for himself, you think he doesn't know how to do this himself? He knows it's attention. It's an attention game. And what people perseverate about becomes reality. The more that people see a thing, the more they come to just accept that thing, and that thing becomes a thing. Never underestimate the creative power of human belief. My president is an expert in this subject. A very stable genius, yes. Here's the one that really, really made the headlines. I'm sure this isn't the first time that any of you have seen this one. Well, yeah, let's just play it.
But they'll learn their lesson. But I want to personally congratulate CNN's Caitlin Collins on receiving her award. It was all about me. It's a fake. She shouldn't get the award. It was a fake, but I didn't mind. I said, Caitlin, congratulations. But it was fake. There's no question about it.
What is
that?
that?
She's a young, attractive woman. She never smiles. I said, Caitlin, do you ever smile? Smile.
Don't be a bitch,
you have
Caitlin.
A nice position. You're at CNN Fake News. You should be a happy person. So smile, Caitlin. Just smile. But
by the way, marching orders. It's called CNN Fake News. We've gotten our marching orders from the boss. From here on, it's CNN Fake News. That's the name. That's the name of the company. It has been legally changed to CNN Fake News. Follow suit, boys.
We attack, and I thought Caitlin had really made it big with a major new sponsorship, but then I informed her that it wasn't her on the Bud Light can. It was Dylan Mulvaney. And Dylan Mulvaney cost Bud Light $35 billion in market cap. That was the worst commercial. But
he really went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner and told Caitlin Collins she looks like a tranny. It's unbelievable. Phenomenal. Well, can I go back and vote more? I need every White House Correspondents' Dinner from here on forward needs to be conducted by Donald Trump. I need an endless highlight reel of Donald Trump just absolutely ending the lives of his opponents. You know it's eating her up so bad too, for sure. Oh yeah, this is going to eat her alive for years. It's going to take her years. She may never come back from this. She's going to bury that down deep, and she is going to spend probably millions of dollars on therapy in her life for that joke. Yeah, nobody hates journals more than my president. So true, T-Con. Oh, 2 for 1. He's making deals for the American public even when he's doing a little ripping at dinner. It's called we do a little ripping at dinner. It's called we do a little call Caitlin Collins a tranny. Yeah, congratulate libtard women on their transition as a 4chan joke / prank idea from years ago. Our 4chan president. And then, this is funny because I just was remembering when I saw Adam Schiff at the DC airport when I was there a few months ago, wearing a full Canadian tuxedo. I was like, is that? I had to look it up on my phone just to make sure. I'm like, yep, that was Adam Schiff walking by in a Canadian tuxedo with some loafers on. It was kind of weird.
Entertainment, but Adam Shifty Schiff was not available. You know, he's known, I called him, I hate some people, you know, I shouldn't say this, I'm not supposed to hate, I'm supposed to love everybody. But he's a terrible person, he's a liar. And I called him Watermelon Head because he has the largest head I've ever seen with the smallest neck, pencil neck. How does that big, fat, ugly head stand on a little pencil neck?
He is the master. The master. By repeating pencil like he did, your brain is filling in what he's actually implying. Pencil neck. How is it possible that the funniest stand-up comedian in the world is also the greatest president? Incredible. Incredible. And it wouldn't be a Trump stand-up routine if we weren't taking some shots at Rosie O'Donnell. Only Rosie O'Donnell.
That even Rosie O'Donnell reached out from Ireland. She really wanted to be here in order to honor me. She loves me very much, and she was desperate to come back to the United States and pay her respect to Donald J. Trump. But that didn't work out, unfortunately, because and nobody wanted her to come back. But she's one of the greatest sufferers of Trump derangement syndrome. She's a sick young woman, sick older woman, I guess now I have to say. So instead,
just an absolute master at finding the button that someone has and just going boop, boop. Calls her a young woman, like condescending, but then adds to it. Actually, kind of an older woman now that you think about it. Oh my God. How does he do it?
Instead, we're honored to have, for entertainment, the very talented mentalist.
And then he had to take another shot at J.B. Pritzker. So he went out of his way in a way that only Donald Trump could.
Tell anybody fat. I have my own problems, you know? It's not like I'm perfect. Sir, in the back, don't call him a fat pig, okay? I'm sticking up for him. Don't call him you. You can't do that, sir. You can't call J.B. Pritzker a fat pig, please. All right? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Everyone's trying to figure out who is that guy? Does he exist? But the nice part...
The room is dead. The room is like... They can't... You can't make a peep. Imagine how much trouble they would be in. The room is flat dead. Not missing a beat. He is just cooking. It's like he's at a rally. This is what he does at a rally. He took the White House Correspondents' Dinner and turned it into a Trump rally. And they had to sit there and suffer through it. He squeezed every last little bit of juice out of it that he possibly could. This is the one where he gets mad at the script writer.
I do think we need term limits in Congress. I think term limits are very important because I see what's happening. The other day, a senator I knew got a...
Yeah, he's doing Norm Macdonald bombing on purpose. Yeah, totally.
Text, a great guy, from his wife. And she said, when you get home, I want to have you immediately come up the stairs and make love to me. And he said, I can't do both. You know what? You know, in other words, can't go up the stairs and...
His little laugh.
She said, when you get home, I want to have you immediately come up the stairs and make love to me. And he said, I can't do both. You know what? You know, in other words, can't go up the, can't go up the stairs. Can't go up the stairs and make love. Does anybody get that? Well, I thought that was actually pretty good. That was actually the only thing I thought was good in this whole frickin' stupid speech that they wrote. That was the only good one, and that went down with not exactly great laughter. I think, you know, in other words, you can't go up the stairs and make love, too, you know. So we're looking for term limits. Does anybody understand this stuff?
Oh!
But I really do wonder whether the Democrats are trying to lose the midterms. In Maine, they nominated a guy with a Nazi tattoo. But don't worry, Democrats. Word is that Platt, his replacement, he throws bottles at women.
Don't worry, Democrats. Don't worry. Oh, not only did he come up with Democrats, the brilliant man, nobody else could have come up with Democrats until Donald Trump came along. Not only did he come up with Democrats, he went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner and said, don't worry, Democrats. Whoops, wrong one.
I want a Trump comedy ramble during public Transtifa mass exec.
Accidentally replayed the wrong one. No, stop!
I want a Trump comedy ramble during public Transtifa mass exec.
You're getting your money's worth, Arthurian candidate. There we go.
I love this man. He's a mad genius.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff Garrett, for the $47. So true. So true. The absolute mad genius. Now I'm going to have to fix the tip goal because every time it played, it added it to it. This one, though, this is the one of all of them that just sent me over the edge. We played this on the voice chat, and I was laying on the ground on my back, just crying, laughing. I cannot believe he actually went, and this is just the perfect joke. You think that he's told the perfect joke already? No. This is the perfect joke.
Load of accomplishments that the media never talks about. For example, under my administration, a once feared and powerful regime that relentlessly attacked America has finally been toppled. Their former leaders have been removed, and they're now being run by a gay dictator facing internal divisions. But I, for one, wish Barry Weiss all the best at CBS News. She's a wonderful woman. Most of the press...
Under my administration, a once feared and powerful regime that relentlessly attacked America has finally been toppled. They're now being run by a gay dictator facing internal divisions. I, for one, wish Barry Weiss all the best at CBS News. He calls Barry Weiss a gay dictator, equates CBS News to the IRGC, calls the Ayatollah gay, says that their regime has been toppled, also says CBS News has been toppled. There's so much in this one joke. Yeah, Living Dead, he hates journos like no one ever has before. He lives to curb stomp journos. Nothing makes him happier than pissing them off. It's beautiful. You, young patriot, should be aspiring to hate journos as much as your president.
Now I'm going to do it again. Thank you. I'm going to do it. Should be easy. I'm getting very good at running for president. No, I won 3 times, did very well the second time, by the way. It's a rigged election, but we don't have to talk about it. You know, it's interesting, when you come back and you do a good job like we did, you don't care about it so much, but we do have to tighten up these elections because they really are in serious...
I gotta say, I never would have expected in 2020, 2021, I never would have expected that we were going to get to the point where he was just going to be openly saying, I won that election and they stole it from me. And like openly saying it and then also pursuing the case of prosecuting it. Like I genuinely, I remember what it was like in 2021 and being like, damn, things are dark. I don't know if we're ever going to have another election. Like, I don't even know if it's going to be possible. You would get like, there was like the very real possibility that you could have been criminally prosecuted for claiming that the election was stolen when it was very obvious that it was stolen. It never quite got to that point, but there's plenty of people who they were criminally prosecuted for something else as a proxy for that. And now he's just straight up saying it. And I agree with you guys in the chat that he's not kidding either. I still don't know exactly what it means. And I also think that there's a little, there's like no downside to it, because if he just keeps saying, I'm running, and they're like, he's gonna run, and they burn out on freaking out about him running again, then it makes JD seem like at least Trump isn't running again. And there's nothing he loves more than lighting their hair on fire. And you're kind of moving the needle on that front. So maybe it's not him, but you're also laying the groundwork for the next time that it becomes relevant. I don't know if something like that could stick across that many years, but yeah, I would not be surprised at all if he's fully intending on going for it again. And you know, I will commit so much voter fraud. So much voter fraud to vote for him again. This was an interesting comment here from when he was at that Ratepayer Protection Pledge event the other day, talking about like the hyperscalers, the data centers and stuff. He said this.
All these buildings, plants, factories that we're talking about start opening up. All I know is I'd like to be the next president because I'm going to make somebody look very good. They're going to sit there and all this stuff is going to be opening and they're going to be saying what a genius they are. That happened with Biden. I got cuts in medicine prices that statutorily took 2 or 3 years. And I got these tremendous cuts, and then they sat there and said, oh, yeah. They didn't even know where they came from. But I got them, and this is going to be a much bigger example. You have all these plants that are going to be opening up over the next 2 years, sooner, but 2 years. And somebody's going to look very, very smart, and I hope you remember me because what we've done is something that nobody thought was possible.
So he's talking here. I'd like to be the next president. Somebody's going to look very, very smart, and I hope you remember me. So he's doing both at the same time. He's saying, you know, it's going to be someone else. I hope you guys will remember me. And he's also, you could see, like under the surface here, he's forecasting what he's expecting to come. He's like, I'm going to do all of this work up until 2028 to lay the groundwork, and whoever inherits it, they're the ones who are going to be they're going to be the president while all of the payoff is coming. So he may not end up ultimately getting the credit for it directly. Someone else is going to oversee that credit. He says, you know, just remember me when everything is good. But again, like he's more than happy to let them stew in this for a while. And by continually bringing this up, he keeps it front of mind because people are constantly thinking about it. And as they're ramping up the grand juries and the Bill Pulte went and dropped a whole bunch of stuff related to election security the other day that I haven't dug into yet. But the pressure is ramping up. And we're going to talk a little more about deportations and election security in China and stuff tomorrow, I think. I've got a few different things that will all go together for a show for that. But they've made a couple of big moves on that front recently. And one of them is talking about how they're going to prosecute. They're going to be prosecuting any election fraud that they find. Just that mere fact alone will guaranteed affect the voter fraud industry on a certain level. Just by doing that, just by threatening prosecution, because there's a lot of people who it's just like, oh, this doesn't get prosecuted anymore, and it's like maybe there's like gray areas and they've been given instructions, and it's like, no, it's okay, it's legal because of this, or this. But then the more you hear this drumbeat of people who are engaging in voter fraud, oh, that person got arrested, that person was doing that, oh, that's kind of close to what I was doing, I'm not in for all this. Every little bit counts. So keeping this constantly fresh in mind, when he says Trump 2028, that's a way of bringing up the 2020 election was stolen and we don't have secure elections. Every time he says Trump 2028, it's Trump 2028 because 2020 was stolen from me. Meanwhile, here on elsewhere in the country, there's this chick, Haley Stevens, U.S. Senate candidate in Michigan. I played the video of her the other day with her, unique way of talking, I suppose. So here she is with James Clyburn. And so obviously there's the way she's talking, and there's meta here because she's talking about the way she's talking, the way they're attacking it. But note the language that she uses here and the positioning that she's angling for. You know, mid, kind of goofy, chungusy, millennial white woman.
Okay, some of you have seen, there's those cool kids on the internet. They're doing the cool kid chatter. Some of them might be the coastal elites making fun of how I talk.
Coastal elites making fun of how I talk. So she's running in Michigan, appealing to, for lack of a better word, Michigan nationalism.
says my governor. But
So you actually can talk normally. The voice is a completely put on thing.
Says my governor.
Oh, okay, I see.
But let's be real. They're making fun of Michigan. They're thinking they're better than us. And what they don't know is I am your voice.
Stealing lines.
I am your voice.
And their jokes and their criticism only makes me fight harder.
So you see what this is, right? Remember what I said after the 2024 election? I said the Democrat Party's only prayer is tacking toward MAGA and trying to sell themselves as the ones who can do MAGA but for real. This is Trump's campaigning manifesting through a weird quirk chungus. The coastal elites are making fun of me, but they're not really making fun of me. They're making fun of you. They're coming after you, but I'm in the way. But don't worry, I'm your voice. They think they're better than us. The coastal elites think they're better than us. Who's us? The fuck if I know, says the woman from the coastal elite part. But you see, the Democrat Party is remaking itself now. They're headed into the wilderness to go out and try to remake themselves as the flyover working class party. What this means is that there also is announced today, I've continued to be on the record, that Kamala Harris is going to be the nominee for the Democrats. Do you think that Kamala Harris and this woman can coexist in the same party? This is a split. This is a divergence in the priorities and the messaging and the character of the party. And what this side is doing, they're doing the smarter thing, which is the John Normalson route. But what this also means is they're choosing the way to approach the upcoming election cycles is to meet J.D. Vance on his turf. They're skating to directly where he is strongest, which is being the Republican candidate who can appeal to the John Normalson. You've seen the clips that I played the one the other day with him with Bishop Barron, and then also his clip from the Joe Rogan interview he did, where he talked about the necessity of balancing labor and capital, and that the responsibility of a good Christian politician is to be able to mediate between those two predominant classes. J.D. Vance is going to clean up the union vote. I was just listening to Lee on the episode with Patrick Casey where he said that J.D. Vance needs to believe in his own power. Lee, very, very good follow. Lee made a point. What was I just saying? Unions, J.D. Vance, union vote. That they were talking early on in the episode. They were talking about, I think this was when it was still available for free subscribers. They were talking about how, shit, I just lost my train of thought again. J.D. Vance, unions. Lee was making the point that Trump doesn't know what an H-1B is. Like, there was the clip he brought up, the one where Trump's talking about the Hyundai workers. It might have been Patrick Casey that was saying this. I don't remember now, but it was in that conversation that there was those Hyundai workers who were came over on a specialized visa to train They came from Korea to work in the Korean company to train American workers, and there's like a special sort of visa. These are not like undocumented or low wage workers who are over here stealing American jobs or whatever. Like there's always going to be that small sliver of high skilled immigration where they, you're bringing it's part of the trade deal. Like you're going to invest, your company is going to invest a whole bunch in building up these factories, and you're going to send the people over to train them on the particular machines or software or whatever you're using within your company. And he brought those up in the context of H-1Bs. And I think it was Patrick Casey who said like Trump doesn't know what an H-1B is. Like he's not down in the weeds on something like that. He's the boomer. JD Vance knows exactly what an H-1B is. JD Vance is deeply familiar with the ins and outs of all these sorts of little policy discussions and the different sides and the different factions, and he's been in the weeds with the rest of us. So having a chief executive who is that aware of things on the ground is going to be a very different thing. Something, you've got we're skipping the Gen Xers and going straight to the millennial president. But just that change in mentality in the office is going to be different for sure. And I think there's probably going to be benefits to it. But there was, let's see here. Where are we at right now? Yeah, let's go to these JD Vance things here real quick. So, shout out to Nastoff, Free Will Breakfast on X. I will let the man identify himself if he wants to. He says, "Look how Vance hit the glow up well into his 30s. It's never too late, boys. A little discipline and some facial hair will take you a long way." This is from 2019, where JD Vance is asked about his favorite Democrats as of 2019 in terms of policy. This was his answer.
I did this event at the Yale Federalist Society recently where they asked me for my 3 favorite Democrats purely in terms of policy outcomes. And I said, in order, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Tulsi Gabbard.
Where is this here? That man has had a glow up. Big time. This dude could not have been Trump's vice president. It wouldn't matter what was going on inside his head. This dude could not have been Trump's vice president. Yeah, look at that big, beautiful Ohio physiognomy. Oh yeah. But the voice, the chubbiness, the whole thing. This dude could not have been Trump's vice president. But some men are late bloomers. JD has definitely late bloomed. But what the hell just happened? That was odd. That was very weird. Yeah, the jowls and double chin would have been a no-go. But so the people who he says his favorite Democrats in terms of policy: Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Tulsi Gabbard. Interestingly, Gabbard winds up in Trump's administration as well. But Bernie Sanders, in terms of Bernie Sanders, was like vocally anti-immigration until like a decade ago, because it's been for a long time the organized left was anti. Like the actual like working class left was anti-immigrant because it undercuts domestic workers. And then Elizabeth Warren is the one who wrote. She wrote the book about, I think it's about school choice. Like they're just total creatures of power. But JD Vance worked across the aisle when he was a senator, and he actually went out of his way to work with Elizabeth Warren on stuff that they actually did find alignment in. This is something that has characterized JD throughout his political career, is his ability to work with lots of divergent factions. And I find this very interesting given where he finds himself now. That he finds himself at the intersection of a bunch of different factions. I've talked about this over the last few episodes. You know, you've got like, maybe say like the Tucker Carlson faction. You've got the Peter Thiel faction. A lot of these overlap, but he's kind of the thing that overlaps a lot of them. You've got the neocons. You've got the you might call it like the Michael Anton. You got like the Catholic integralists. You've got Silicon Valley, broadly speaking. You know, he is the nexus point around a bunch of these different factions, and he's already developing a career of being the guy who can go and intermediate in disputes. He's got a lot of experience in this. This is going to be relevant when I get to the Malcolm and Simone Collins clip here in just a minute. We talk about the chimps. Yeah, many Bernie bros voted for Trump, regardless of how they feel now. We got what we needed from him, right? And a lot of Bernie bros became just straight up Trump guys. I was on the verge of Bernie bro kind of when I was in college and shortly thereafter, when I didn't really know anything. I just was like, oh yeah, like student loans are a fucking scam, and he's talking about making college free. That seems like that'd be really good. That'd be very relevant to me. So like, you can't get so deep down into the weeds, especially the extremely online weeds, where Vance Thurian.
JD is a chameleon. Because he is so our guy, he has to fake it most of the time. 135 IQ racist, but friendly.
Yes. And this is like the ultimate form. The ultimate form of the cultured white man. 135 IQ, racist, but friendly. This is aspirational. That is who JD Vance is. He's you know, the more I think about him, the more, like, Trump is a distillation of the American experience for his particular generation. JD is a distillation of the American experience for his particular generation. So I can't remember what I was saying just before that, but but like the Bernie Bros stuff, you can't get so deep into the weeds on this stuff that you don't realize that there is a lot of people out there who are just casual, like they like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and AOC and stuff because these aren't politics understanders. They're just like, oh yeah, we should like do stuff for the poor and we should do stuff for to like help out the kids who need to get work, and they're the ones who are talking about that, so I'll just vote for them. And that's as deep as it gets for him. Someone like that, JD Vance, can be very, very appealing to him. My wife is saying, what the fuck? Oh, I see. She's fighting with the keyboard. ADT guy left, by the way, big fat nothing burger. Couldn't tell me why the fire alarm keeps going off. Great. Well, I guess it'll just randomly keep going off. Slutty Milk says, I was very briefly considering Bernie for a brief moment in college because he was allegedly anti-immigration and pro-American worker. Not that I was a leftist at all. It was the immigration restriction that made me interested. Yeah, and this is the way that a lot of people interface with politics. The overwhelming majority of people interface with politics in this way. But then here's a little more recent clip of JD, mid-glow up, talking, and this is one of the clips, when I saw this, I think back when I was talking about PayPal Mafia stuff a lot and starting to think about JD Vance as a potential vice president. This was in like late 2023, early 2024. I believe this was one of the clips. I don't remember exactly when this was, but it was around that time that I saw this and I was like, JD is a very, very interesting sort of synthesis of different political perspectives that is really very timely for America right now.
We on the right, on the sort of the post-liberal right or the new right, or however we want to define what it is, this sort of hodgepodge of people.
Like post-liberal right, even talking in these sorts of terms is a big, already like a big our guy signaler.
And ideologies that have sort of collected themselves here today. I think that we are really, really kidding ourselves about the weight of the challenge. And when we talk about changing the regime, which is in fact a word that I myself have used before, I agree with Patrick.
And even that, like regime, like speaking in those terms.
I think we have to be clear on
this is like at the very least, because these are the sorts of things that you could see, and I kind of went through this process when I was digging into him. These are things that you could see as just like using the language to try to fit in. But like even before getting that far, it's just like, this is someone who's already very familiar with our broad collection of scenes among the various different factions of the so-called online right. This is someone who's gone out of his way to become familiarized with a bunch of little niche subcultures and stuff. For what reason? Is it because he's some sort of subversive? Well, you're not going to be able to answer that on that alone. It could be because he's like going out there as the agent of Peter Thiel to go learn all of these things, so then he can be Manchurian candidated in and all that. Like, I'm not even going that far. I'm just saying already it's notable to have a guy at this level of power who's this intimately familiar with the subcultures and the sorts of conversations that are sort of at the leading edge of the right-wing political organization in the country.
Right about how difficult it is. And let me just illustrate this with one particular issue. One of the hangovers, one of the really bad hangovers from that sort of uniparty that Patrick Deneen talked about is this idea that there is this extremely strong division between the public sector and the private sector. You know, the public sector, there's the necessary evil of government. We want to limit it as much as possible because to the extent that we don't limit it, it's going to do a lot of terrible things. And then you have the private sector, sort of that which comes from spontaneous order. It's organic. It's very Burkean, and we want to let people sort of do as much free exchange within that realm as possible. And in the reality of politics, as I've seen it practiced, the way that lobbyists interact with bureaucrats, interact with corporations, there is no meaningful distinction between the public and the private sector in the American regime. It is all fused together. It is all melded together. And it is all, in my view, very much aligned against the people who I represent in the state of Ohio.
This is another level of political philosophy understanding for elected officials. Now, it may seem sort of, it may seem trite to someone who's been listening to lots of YouTube essays for the last decade or so, but this is he is rare and becoming less and less rare. But he was really at the leading edge of having elected officials, and not just low-level elected officials, but higher-level elected officials who are really trying to grapple with and engage with these matters of political philosophy and the nature of different political systems, like even having the requisite IQ to be able to independently think and evaluate and compare and contrast different political systems and dig into a nuance, like the public-private distinction doesn't exist. Not the way that conservatives like to talk about it. This is a point that I was making on before I even started doing the Astrolabe, when it was just the King Pilled podcast. I was talking about how the public-private distinction is fake. Libertarians talk about this as if like just because something is quote unquote private, it's therefore like licit or something, and like there's a meaningful distinction between public and private. But like this is kind of the thing when I was ranting earlier about the brilliance of the American system. Part of it is that America is structured as a corporation. And the corporation is a unique invention of the European peoples, and it's been really refined and perfected throughout time. But it's a fascinating vehicle. Being able to organize along corporate lines is a fascinating thing. But also, whether it's a public corporation or a private corporation, it's going to have many of the same structures, and it's going to be. You're going to be able to identify the same sorts of patterns that persist throughout it. And over a long enough time period, the corporate structure itself is going to produce a type of person that relates to and engages with and exists within the corporate structure according to the habits of a particular class. So then pretty soon, all the different corporate structures are going to be occupied and run by the same type of people, the same class of people who think the same way and operate under the same according to the same principles. But the thing that's unique about corporate structures is how agile and replicable they are. And so they map on, like, Yarvin's always making this point about how corporations are basically just monarchies, and in a certain sense they are, but you're sort of like that sort of analysis is useful from a 50,000 foot view, but when you start digging into them, the corporate structure is actually, I think, a pretty brilliant evolution on monarchy. And even monarchy, like, there's so many different types of monarchy, structures of monarchy, and you have constitutional monarchies, you've got divine rights monarchies, you've got like the crisis dictator, having that like being a thing that's there and then it's not always there. And so when America was founded, it was created as a unique political vehicle. And I think people really underestimate that. And so they look back, they look at like the transition between monarchs or something, and they see this as, it can be really chaotic and fractured and bloody. But the proliferation now of corporate structures and things like corporate mergers and leveraged buyouts and this sort of thing, it enables a lot of different ways to take over and capture institutions and engage in warfare in bloodless ways. Like, without the structure of the some of this is due to the Westphalian state in general, but then there's like you're going through like different stages of evolution in the Westphalian states, and then sort of moving beyond it. But it's increasingly enabling transfers of political power, and what would have formerly been wars that would have been straight out like bloodshed, it's enabling those sorts of things to happen bloodlessly or relatively bloodlessly. And I think that this is a sticky phenomenon. I don't think that this is just like a transitory thing right now. People kind of have this sense of like, things used to be really violent, and then we've gone through this place where things aren't really violent, but pretty soon things are going to get really violent again, and I don't necessarily know that they are. So, Austin Padgett here, Ludwig Never Mises, a very good guy. He says, JD Vance is getting a lot of heat for this video, but all he's saying is that the private sector and public sector have been melded to a point of being indistinguishable. This is the correct view, for example, of how Facebook wasn't just a private company when getting instructions from the FBI on what to censor. Defending corporations that are propped up by regulatory capture or controlled by the government as being free market is the worst thing you could possibly do to make people appreciate property rights. Zuckerberg was under extreme pressure to moderate his platform to stop Trump, and he was testifying in Congress begging for broad regulation so he could comply and censor people without losing users to more free platforms. This is supposed to be a key libertarian insight. When you centrally plan an industry through a federal regulatory body run by unaccountable bureaucrats, you aren't protecting consumers from an asymmetry of power with large corporations. You're creating a single access point from which the largest corporations can control the entire market. Now, this here, I think, should be seen properly as both a feature and a bug. But there are ways to take control of the incentive structures for the largest corporations to be able to, by proxy, control the entire market without breaking it in ways that haven't really been as possible throughout previous human history. This is what happened. That's our current reality. The American Medical Association makes the rules for all doctors enforced through coordinated state licensing monopolies, and Big Pharma tells them what to write. Government has an incentive to protect their industry partners from competition. The fewer companies in the industry and the more dependent those companies are on government favors, the easier it is to force behaviors, as Larry Fink of BlackRock once said. This is why Target and McDonald's enforced mask mandates, but your mom and pop corner shop did not. It's not fair to accuse JD of being a socialist for pointing this out. And like, talking about JD in terms of like socialist versus capitalist or libertarian or conservative or whatever is really, I think he's the leading edge of American politics beginning to move beyond these sorts of frames that just aren't, like, I don't think this is going to happen in my lifetime, but like, not all politics is reducible to capitalist versus socialist. In fact, anyone who's not mentioning the degree to which our supposed market system is already compromised by central planning is covering for socialism. I mean, I wouldn't say that central planning is necessarily a compromise. It's like, who are the central planners, and what is the technology being used to centrally plan? What is being centrally planned is important as well. Certain things can be centrally planned. Other things can't be. This is really a matter of technology. This admin is making more progress in pushing back on regulatory capture than anyone in 100 years. They've massively reduced regulations and fired so many federal bureaucrats we're back down to 1960s numbers. And this is interesting because they're capturing power, but they're also relinquishing power in a certain sense. Because if regulatory capture is a means of power, a means of controlling the market, then rolling back regulatory capture, you would think that what would naturally follow is that rolling back regulatory capture is actually relinquishing power. But they're not, because the power doesn't work in these really like surface level sort of Saturday morning cartoon logic sorts of ways. Power over what? Power over whom? But there is still a huge way to go in unwinding a 100-year progressive march through the institutions, and it won't be easy, especially while simultaneously managing the fallout of a consequently destroyed culture. If people can't deal with this problem without getting caught in semantic pitfalls and you compromise the best faith efforts to address it as a result, then you're going to end up fulfilling your own prophecy by giving power back to the left and creating the atmosphere for exactly the kind of counterproductive reactionary socialist backlash you're afraid of. So the relationship between capital and labor is a thing that I think is going to continue to persist for a while. And the nature of a human civilization is that it can't be, neither side can win. There's going to be a perpetual tension, and it's going to be a matter of sort of which direction the pendulum is swinging. But there's a third category. There isn't just capital and labor. There's also the state. You're going to say there's also the church, but there's also the state. And the state's role is, just by definition, by dint of the nature of its existence at this point in time, its goal is mediating between those two factions, because you need them. You need capital and you need labor, and you need them to be symbiotically engaged, not antagonistically engaged. And so the third party is the mediator. The one that has the power and the credibility such that it can interface with both sides and mediate between them. So, with all that build-up, then, let's watch some of this video here with Simone and Malcolm. America's heading for civil war, so says chimp research. I cut off we're not going to watch the part of the beginning of this, just in simple terms, what they're talking about the longest chimp studying research project that was done, mapping this group of chimps. It got up to like 250 chimps. And then it just suddenly descended into, like relatively suddenly, just descended into basically civil war. And so they're looking at the reasons why, what caused that. What were the factors, what were the behavioral patterns and stuff of these chimps leading up to this point, and what can we glean from that? And they made a pretty interesting observation on what seemed to be the key downfall, and this ties in directly with, they're going to show a color-coded chart here. Tikon.
I had a vision. I'm an Indian now. I always wondered why I hated the federal government and loved tobacco with such passion. But now it all makes sense.
Tikon's going to start wearing moccasins. Just beware of the blankets. Thank you, Tikon. Appreciate you. Please do tip your streamer, folks. Tips.kingpill.com. We're lagging behind, and Mrs. Kingpill's not going to be happy. So they're going to show a chart here of the increasing partisan division in Congress, and then the parallel with what happened with the chimps. And there was one key factor that they were missing.
A lot of people are like, well, this happened because the troop was large. And it is the biggest one ever studied. It's true, but it's very common. And apparently they call this fusion and fission. It's very common to see fission in a large chimp group. They will break up because they're just too big. It's the dominance hierarchy kind of falls apart. But it's usually peaceful. They just kind of go their separate ways, and there is no conflict like this. This is very unusual. And that's why we want to go into what caused this. This is what's so interesting. So it's not that the group was getting too big. What the key thing is that key intermediary individuals died. So in 2014, at least 2 of these, like
this is the most important point. This is what I think is very interesting, the relevance to JD Vance here.
A large cluster of important chimpanzees who used to be, you know, in high school, like with the cliques, there was that kid who like would float between like the drama kids and the stoners, or the popular kids and the nerds, right? And they would sometimes get the groups together, like invite them all to their beach party. I don't know. I wasn't good at social things in high school, but that is what these intermediary
I couldn't tell
chimps would do. They would get basically two of these subgroups with.
If you don't know who Simone and Malcolm are, they're very unique. They're very controversial. They have a very unique perspective, and they're kind of difficult to categorize in a particular camp. They're like openly unabashedly pro-white, pro-natalist. Like, this is a big thing. Very, very pro-natalist, pro-white. They believe that white people, like high IQ white people, need to be proactively going out of their way to interbreed and intermarry, and like preserving the white race, essentially. Malcolm has like this thing against a thing against Catholics, but they're this combination of like theater kid and nerd that is honestly is kind of charming. Just how open-minded they are. Like, they're open-minded to the point where you know, maybe they shouldn't be too open-minded. But they view Christianity as like the proper social technology for the maintenance of the white race, essentially. And they're like members of the white race, so they're Christian for like pragmatic reasons. That's just like, this is the superior social technology. So it's very rationalist, but they're not rationalist at all. But they sort of have the aesthetic, and they've got sort of like the goth thing, and they have like this renovated Pennsylvania farmhouse that they live in with all their kids that they have. They have like a kid named Octavian, and they're very, very quirky, like nerdy theater kids, nerdy eugenicists. Yeah, Arthurian candidates. They're openly eugenicist
Within these groups together, and they were really good at connecting them, and this created this sense of familiarity and exchange, even if they spent the majority of time kind of on their own doing their own thing. And it could be that there was some kind of sickness that spread through in 2014, but a bunch of these key males specifically died. Two of them definitely died from disease.
So the bros,
the bros, who were just like, look, like, let's all hang out. I mean, I think you try to be one of these people within our culture, right? Like, we reach out to people on the left all the time. We try to get people together. We host these parties to get people.
Well, I think within the right, I try to be one of these people where we have many different factions in the right with many different goals, and I try to identify which ones can actually work together effectively, and then try to decrease tensions between those groups so that we can win.
That is exactly what those chimps did. But what happens if you die, right? And if like 5 other people who are doing the same thing die, you're going to get less of that exchange, less of the very crucial membrane permeation that leads to a little bit more osmosis and like stability between the membranes. You know, otherwise it's going to become very brittle and strained if there isn't this exchange. And so take this and then make it worse, because in 2015,
so they've got the particular class, like the bros or whatever they call them, that are the floaters. They're the ones who connect all the different social groups. So you have your different cliques, but then you have the intermediaries among all the cliques, and that seems to be like that. It was that class that was socially holding the troop of chimps together. The fact that, you know, some chimps that were part of the same troop that wouldn't necessarily spend time together, but then there was the social ones that would sort of go from group to group, and as long as they were there, they could serve a mediating role between all the others. But then something happened that wiped out a substantial portion of those, you know, like the connectors, the connector chimps, and it went like the entire thing went haywire almost immediately. Just responding to a couple of the comments in here. They're nerdy eugenicists. Arthurian candidate says Simone is smarter than Malcolm, but she dutifully submits. However, she is more pleasant to listen to. Yeah, Malcolm is he's like an unashamed total spurg, and he's pretty entertaining. But their dynamic is funny because they're recording in the same house together, like across the house. But they have, as part of their episodes, they have like their sort of their banter where they plan their meals together, and he just says, "I want this," and she says, "Okay, then I'll make that for you." And he like places his order, and she's very submissive and just like cooks some elaborate meal or whatever for them, and their friends were going to come over to visit. So they just sit there and banter. They're like, the kids come in and they like yell at the kids and stuff. But there was a question here. Tikon says, what do they think about the chuds though? And Logan says they out-chud a lot of chuds. Yes. They're they don't fall cleanly into a category of liberal or conservative. They're like extremely high openness, right-wing eugenicists who are like, it's like what was the thing you said earlier? 135 IQ, racist but friendly. That's them. That's them to a T. Their whole thing is about noticing patterns. Kind of strange they're doing a Zoom call like they aren't in the same house right now. Yeah, it's like they have very, very different sleeping schedules, and so he has like his separate room off in the house, his office, where he goes and he works, and he's like doing like a bunch of different developing a bunch of different AI models and stuff, and then she's taking care of the kids and producing the show and cleaning and making the food and all that sort of thing. Yeah, Malcolm openly talks about tying UBI to sterilization. They're like, they definitely cross lines that I'm not super comfortable with, but they're typically like along those lines. They're extreme utilitarians. But they're also like they're somehow, how would you say it? They're extremely judgmental, but they're also extremely open. It's a very, very fascinating combination.
There was a power transition. The alpha male shifted, and this coincided with the first sustained separation between the Western and Central clusters. And then this likely amplified tensions, right? If there's a new leader, there were probably a bunch of other males who were kind of like in coalitions that were angling for power for the alpha male position in his like orbit of supplemental alpha males. I don't know how it works in chimp groups, so I'm just guessing here. But that must have made things worse. But then what really solidified all of this is that a respiratory epidemic hit in 2017, and this killed 25 chimpanzees. And this ended up killing some of the last remaining key intermediaries. And then as those go-betweens just disappeared and vaporized, no one else like stepped in to fill that role.
Well, what I find really interesting is if you look at what's happened in our society and you're using this as a predictive sort of model, the sort of social virus that has infected the left is so terrified. In fact, the thing it's terrified most of is the intermediary, right?
Yeah,
because the intermediary could allow ideas to enter the left that would defeat the social contagion.
Or and de-escalate the isolation.
Control people. So they explicitly target intermediaries. And then what the intermediaries have done, because
I think they're actually kind of a they've preserved a like a particular class or a particular you would call it like a phenotype or something like that. Like when they talk about the how liberal a couple hundred years ago, liberal meant someone who was like aristocratic, eugenicist, very, very high. Like there's this notion that liberalism and hierarchy are incompatible with each other. And I think I reject the premise altogether. I think that liberalism is entirely compatible as a political technology. Liberalism is entirely compatible with ruthless hierarchy. But they're like a preservation of when liberal coded people weren't shit libs. That's kind of how they strike me.
Because if you look at many of the people who have become thought leaders on the new right, they are people who previously filled the intermediary role in society. People like myself or Leaflet or JD Vance, or these were very much like the bridge between MAGA and the left, right? Like we talked with both of them, we hung out with both of them, we helped both of them communicate with each other. And I think one of the biggest challenges that the left is going to have going forwards is because it attacked the people willing to talk to both sides, is the intermediaries are now applying their skill sets to make the right more culturally cohesive, basically to build a stronger faction against them. And we're absolutely seeing that, right? Like the right has been significantly less, especially the new right, as I've said, significantly low drama, significally low infighting, because, no, this isn't all of the right, obviously.
Yeah, it's funny. Because when he says this, I'm like, hold on, wait a second. But also on a certain level, it's true that that the right was sort of reeling for a while, but then, like, by definition, the thing that elected Trump was a very broad coalition, especially once you brought in the Silicon Valley, sort of like California libertarian, which is in many pertinent ways right now does exist essentially to the right of the powers that be.
Obviously, there's parts of like the legacy right who don't understand what's going on, and we basically ignore them because they speak to boomers and they're going to be dead soon anyway. You know, they can rail against anime or hentai or whatever.
Well, actually, no. Okay, so you've got to look on WhatsApp and pull up the graph image I just sent to you, because what you're describing, like, if in fact it doesn't even say anything about chimps.
See, like one example where like I understand their perspective, I wouldn't agree for particular reasons, but one example of their sort of extreme utilitarian like pragmatism approach is regarding prawn. The devil's iconography. Their perspective on it, looking at it from like a evolutionary perspective, is if you try to like ban it or hide it or ostracize it, you actually amplify the negative. You make it more appealing, you make it more enticing, and you amplify the negative impacts of it. Whereas they say something like footnote, don't censor, or something along those lines. So they're much more prawn friendly than I definitely think than I as a Christian am. But their rationale for it is they fully believe their own rationale that it's actually their utilitarian perspective on this is we're doing this to try to inhibit the negative effects of it. But that's the sort of the perspective that they operate from.
Chimps here. It says Western group and Central group, but you could just replace that with like leftists and
yeah. Actually,
rightists.
I can just put this graph of chimps next to a graph of the political parties drifting apart.
Yeah, and so what you're
so here's the graph of the chimps on the side here. You can see the way from 2013 to 2018. We'll zoom this in just a little bit here. So you see how they're very intermingled here, and then as it progresses across these 5 years, they very sharply split apart until they become wholly separate, two completely different troops. Looks like a cell replicating here, but you can see how it's all super intertwined, and then very quickly it goes and completely separates, which is also very similar to, you've probably seen this before. This is Congress polarizing over the past 60 years. This is up to 1995.
If you're just listening, what we're looking at is a graph from the research looking at this chimpanzee war. It goes from 1998 to 2022, and it visually shows how different cliques and coalitions interchanged and exchanged with each other. And you can see in 1998, it was both a smaller group, so there were fewer involved in this discourse, which is pretty analogous to how things used to be in 1998 in our own time, when there literally were not that many voices involved in public discourse. Anyway, though, then
yeah, good point, Ryan. Or no, it was Kate says, also from our side of things, it seems like Charlie was one of those intermediaries. He could interface friendly with neocon/Chamber of Commerce types and MAGA populist types. Very, very true. Yeah, that's what you see. Like that. This is according to this particular theory that they're putting forth. That's one of the precursors for breakout of warfare, like a civil war, is when those sorts of connecting types disappear.
Then you start to see over time that there's more population density, but then there's still a lot of exchange. And then after 2016, especially, just the interchange between these different cliques just ends. And then you just basically see red and blue, just big old blocks of red and blue. And blue starts branching off a little bit. It might be going through some kind of fission event again around starting in 2021. It's unclear. But from 2018 until 2021, both of these blocks were basically uninterrupted, giant isolated chunks. And that is what civil war looks like. And I do worry reading this and looking at this graph and just being like, wait, is this our political factions right now? Because it really feels like it. That
No, after I saw this graph, I was like, okay, like
I know,
we need to talk about this.
But then also, you should look at the one with the picture of the chimpanzees at the bottom. This is figure 1 from the research. It shows a different kind of visualization going from 2013 to 2018, where it sort of graphs out the social networks. And they show them in red and blue again. And there's sort of this, you can see the spikes of how the social networks
His big old yawn.
connect. And in 2013, it's hard to tell what's red and what's blue. It's just this combined spiky ball. And then what you're seeing over time from 2013 to 2018, it looks like sort of a weird spiky ball, soot sprite from Spirited Away, undergoing some form of like cell division and then becoming just 2 distinct balls. It just falls apart. And it's just all about that interconnectedness. And it's fascinating to me. And I think what this teaches us about human civil war is that the role of linchpin individuals who connect disparate groups is super underrated in our understanding of how they kick off. That when I was taught how civil war worked in history, it was like, well, you need to have this point where like people are so poor that they're really angry, and then like some educated class is like in on it too. But I think a lot of it does have to do with a breakdown of communication between factions and really starting to view the enemy as not human, as other. And that's how you're getting even female chimpanzees coming in here and being hungry to kill the infants that
Oh yeah, that's one of the things they said early on, was that when once the actual fighting would start between these chimps, these are basically like families, like they're literally related to each other, and would formerly have like sat there like grooming each other and eating together and everything. Once they would start fighting, it was ruthless. Like it was fighting way over and above what was needed for just pure like access to resources or whatever. It was clearly malicious intent, like the desire to slaughter. Maiming, beating, like ripping them apart. And then even the females, who previously had shown no inclination for that sort of behavior, even the females were getting involved, attacking the others and going after the babies.
Of groups that, these are chimpanzees that grew up. They used to groom each other.
Yeah.
Like they knew each other, and they're killing each other now. This is really serious stuff. And this is exactly what happens in human civil wars. This is how you got brothers fighting on opposite sides. And I think
the reason it escalates is because somebody else killed your infants or did that like.
Well, sure. Yeah. No, it escalates real fast.
We're seeing this radicalization happen with like the Anthony trial, right? Where the left is like, it should be okay to kill white people, of course, right? Like, how dare you punish somebody for killing a white person? They're actually getting surprised about this. And this is in turn
oh God, no, you're right. Like the fact that they were up in arms about that goes to show, this complete lack of communication with someone who might hold a different perspective. Same with the way that people respond to ICE. Are just like, well, to both treat ICE officers as not human, and then to just be so unthinking and like how maybe we should enforce immigration law, or to hate them so deeply, to like chase them around with whistles and just all these, and to like call them Nazis and everything. Yeah, that's very disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think we could do, and what I view differently now knowing this, is that I think we should both take the concept of the index more seriously. This is something Malcolm proposed in the Pragmatist Guide to Crafting Religion.
We'll get into the index here in just a second. Mellon said, the so-called retard right views anything MAGA adjacent as other, or at the very least crazy. The only way I've found to have them even engage with the other side is to frame it as opposition research. Yeah. And that's kind of like I've said before, I'm very high openness myself. And so I like just listening to people talk and kind of, it doesn't bother me when I disagree with something someone is saying. I just want to add it to the database. I want to keep using it to kind of build out my own internal models. And when they have interesting insights, then I don't really care where the interesting insight came from. We are moderate centrist here. That's very true, Tikon. I've used the framework before where you have friends, allies, and enemies. And friends are necessarily like the people you agree with on everything. The people who are a part of your tribe. But then just because someone is not part of your tribe doesn't mean that they're part of the enemy tribe. They can also be an ally. And by definition, because they're an ally and not a friend, you aren't going to see eye to eye with them on everything. You're going to have serious fundamental differences. You're going to have like axiomatic differences. Because if you're starting for the same axioms, you're going to yield the same results. So like, especially when you're talking political coalition building. And this is another thing that the American system is uniquely built for. It runs on political coalition building. It always has in all of its different forms. It runs on the ability to build coalitions. And I'll say from a matter of principle here, I think you have an obligation if you're going to engage in politics. And by engage in politics, I mean commentary, following, staying informed, engage voting, local office, elected officials, anything involved with politics, you have an obligation to do it well. Politics isn't going away. Christians have an obligation to engage with the state, to populate the state, to do whatever we can to turn the state toward our principles, to have it tack in our direction, to have it be informed by our principles. And so if you start from that starting point that, okay, we do have a positive obligation to be involved in this, and if we're going to have a positive obligation to be involved in it, we then have a positive obligation to do it well. Which means being able to identify who's a friend, who's an enemy, but also who's an ally. Who can you coexist with? And when you have political inevitabilities or political realities, where at a particular decision point, there is going to be a coalitional alignment. There'll be a moment in time where everything is split into two camps. One camp is going to win, one camp is going to lose. The camp that wins will necessarily then start splitting out into separate camps, because this is part of the process. You're going to be constantly, the coalition is going to unite, and then it's going to drift apart, and then it's going to unite, and then it's going to drift apart. And so then the wisdom is in recognizing who is a friend, who is an ally, and who is an enemy.
Religion are
these people, I would see these as very clearly allies.
He wrote about culture, basically crafting culture or making your existing religion stronger in the face of modernity. And this concept of the index is this idea of this loose network of families and cultures that respects the autonomy of other cultures and seeks to learn from them and exchange with them, to share certain cultural technologies, like maybe shared dating markets, but to, respect everyone's culture, but also welcome the intermixing and iteration of their cultures. It's something that we've started to build up. There's a lot of families that are already kind of listed as like, hey, we're going to be a part of this experiment when you have critical mass sufficient to kick it off. And it is exactly formations of loose organizations like that can create not only really helpful, safe alliances as things start to break down, but also stave off things like civil war, because it's exactly that exchange that we need. But it also makes me think of your techno-Puritan covenant of the Sons of Men, which was designed sort of to fight off existential.
Like one of the other things that we're talking about, and something I was listening to just recently, is creating like a dating website or dating app or like a matchmaking service for like high agency, high IQ people to arrange marriages for their children. They're talking about bringing back arranged marriages. They're very, very pro arranged marriage. And they're like, you need to be planning this for your child from the get-go to ensure that your child is being socialized and familiarized with. So there's very much a reviving the aristocratic spirit of what was once the foremost class among Western civilization.
And of the Sons of Men, which was designed sort of to fight off existential risk and threat from AI, but is also very much related to this, which is that we have to respect everyone's right to sovereignty and the right to exist as long as you're not putting others at risk. And I think a core part of that involves being willing to exchange with them and understand them, and maybe pushing for that more.
I mean, you could not, with this model of civil war, have played your cards worse than the left played their cards. And I think when you look at like sensibilities and stuff like that, like how far the right is willing to go at this point in terms of getting things done, what ICE is doing looks quite violent to a lot of people, but the vast majority of people on the right, other than like Nick Fuentes, who whines about, I can't even believe he whines about ICE being too violent. Such a fucking weenus. Anyway, I'm just so glad that he's left our party. Such a weenus. But the rest of us are like, yeah, like ICE needs to do this, right? Like we have seen what happens on the other side of this. The gang rapes of children where people aren't even given prison sentences and stuff like that. Like this, it's just mortifying at this point how bad things have gotten and how statistically bad things have gotten. And
It's like, looks as if this guy calls you a weenus, it's over for you. Nick has to quit now. So true.
And our side is just like, we don't care anymore. We don't care about fairness or it looking bad. And it's even, I think, the same with elections, where the left is completely unconcerned with, like, no matter how much evidence you can show them that there was election fraud, it is irrelevant to them at this point. Because they're like, well, we should cheat in elections, right? Like, that's worth it for us. And I think that on the right, we should be taking this perspective as well, like much more aggressively. Just like we need to, no, really, I mean, I think the
right-wing case for election fraud.
Civil war functionally looks like in this current day and age.
And you said this, yeah.
Is we need functional control of the tech lords. That means the AI companies. And fortunately, we're actually sort of like already well on our way to that. Most of the tech lords are new right adjacent or really sympathetic to our world perspective and ways of thinking and like wider cultural movement. So like we're already there. Just part of the key to winning that is stop attacking the tech lords, you doofuses, right? Like the tech lords are our friends. Who owns the AI in the Capitol plays a lot of a role in who wins a societal civil war.
Now this here is, there's a pause screen for you. This here is a what I think is a difficult truth. But I think that as a matter of political coalitioning, this is sober advice. Part of political coalitioning is recognizing where the power lies, where the power is going, and where you are in proximity to that power. There is the level of power and mobilizable capital that is coming online through the AI build out is going to determine the future. And as a simple matter of civilizational preservation, it's not prudent to place yourself in antagonistic opposition to one of the most powerful factions that is not hell-bent on your destruction. Trust Plansar says the actual American tech bros, white guys mostly, are on our side to a large degree. The brown and yellow 401s are usually not. Yeah, and I think he would probably agree with that as well. There was an episode where they had to go actually bleep out because he was like, I'm just going to start calling all third worlders Pakis. And he was like, what? She's like, yeah, that's a slur. And he's like, oh, really? Oh. Well, I guess I'll just call them Pakistanis then. The jingoism tickles my soul. But I'm thinking in the context of this, I'm thinking of like the Tucker Carlson, Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the like, oh, Palantir and like I understand why those types of people trigger the disgust reaction among. I don't mean the Tucker Carlson people. I understand why that sort of the retard right sort of thing triggers a disgust reaction. I mean like the tech overlords, the Silicon Valley class. This is like the whole thing that motivated me to start digging into the whole PayPal mafia thing was because I recognized this disjunction. I recognize that many of them are far more ally than they are enemy. The majority of them are just simply following power, and they will follow power when power shifts. Unless you just go out of your way to make an enemy of them for no particular reason. Just because they kind of give you the ick. Like, I understand that impulse. I understand, like, just the high openness doesn't mean that I don't understand or see or recognize the ick, and there's things that give me the ick so I can kind of transpose. But making an enemy of the tech right, say the David Freeberg and like they all in podcast guys. I think Jason's insufferable, but even still, like a government comprised of Jasons or an entire coalition comprised of Jasons would be a bad thing. But there is a Jason. Then there's a Chamath and a David Sachs and a David Freeberg and Brad Gerstner and like the guys that they bring on and they have on their shows. A lot of the entrepreneur types. Many of them are as politically enlightened as like the average gamer or gamer. I'm reading the chat. The average Bernie bro guy. I called them the grillionaires for a reason because they just want to grill. That's all they're trying to do. They're just trying to grill. The Chuds and the Tech Bros make a great alliance. So true, T-Con. Melon said these are map gamer autists and somehow still do not understand this. You have a finite amount of fights you can pick. Exactly. Yes, you have a finite amount of fights you can pick. The thing you should not be doing is using the energy and the capital that you have to pick a fight with, like, number one, picking a fight with the biggest possible boss, and then number two, picking a fight with the biggest possible boss who also isn't your avowed enemy.
Don't own the media, and we can't own the media. We're never going to win those institutions. We're never going to win the university system. We're never going to win academia.
Yes.
But we can win the tech lords in an era where their influence disproportionately matters. So that means you need to be forgiving of the type of things that the tech lords do. They will hold some perspectives that may be like, oh, a bunch of gays and stuff like this. So then you've got to be more accepting of gay people, right? Like, if that's what the tech lords are, we need them on our side. You can say that for your family, for your kids, that's not right. But making them feel uncomfortable partnering with us is setting us up to lose, right? Like, that's what a controlled opposition would do within our party. The second thing that we need to do is ensure that
I want gay people to vote for immigration restriction. How about that? If gay people are going to vote for immigration restriction, then I'm not going to persecute them for being gay.
Left can never win an election again. And if that means transitioning governance models, if that means changing how the government is run, if that means transitioning, as I've often said, I think America, if we look at the length that an empire often lasts or lives, we're reaching sort of the end of that cycle. If we look at Rome and its last days as a republic, it mirrors America a lot right now. So are we looking at transitioning into the empire of America from the Republic of America?
Yes.
And I don't mind that if it's our side that has grabbed power in this transition. And I know that on the right would have before, oh, how dare you say that? How dare you say that? And it's like, I'm sorry, like you don't seem to realize how much the other side hates you if you don't feel that way, or how little your lives or the lives of your children matter to them and their goals. And I think if we can just capture those two things, the tech lords and the United States government, then in terms of moving the world forwards, we're in a very good position. And my plan would be, once we got into that position, like had control of the US government, the fight over politics in America right now has really been globalized to a large extent. As we can see.
No, absolutely.
So the American right and the American left fight is playing out in all these other countries. And a lot of them, like in Latin America and stuff now, are electing right-wing figures. I would probably move to a position of beginning to build out a true American empire, right? Like to begin building sort of pseudo-vassalitic relations with these other right-wing governments and help them maintain permanent power structures within their governments as well, under a sort of pan-American goal, right?
He's cooking.
Fanning out from American power interests. And I think that that's completely realistic within our lifetimes to set that up. And
this is what's happening. Like, frankly, like this is what's happening. It's not going to happen just on its own. So you don't go, oh, it's already happening. Okay, I don't need to pay attention. No, you got to do your part as well. Sometimes for you, doing your part is going to mean like going out and building a business or starting a family or running your local men's group or getting involved in your local union or whatever. It's going to mean a lot of things for a lot of different people. But this is something that's already well on its way. This is the way that the American empire is constructing itself, is by forming these vassalitic relationships with other right-wing governments and ensuring that those right-wing governments stay in power.
And it's probably the best thing that many of these other countries can hope for, because they're going to run out of money soon. Their demographic situation and not having the same AI tech that we have or ability for innovative capacity. And if you're like, oh, everyone has the same ability for innovative capacity. Okay, live your freaking dream. All right. But like functionally, that's not the way things are playing out. Right. So that's where I'd like to see the future go. I think that's the way that this plays out with the least amount of bloodshed and pain possible. And I think a lot of people, and this is where I think the Civil War is going, right? Like I don't follow the Rubyard style of Civil War. I think the Civil War is about control of the government and control of elite capital. Those are the two groups that really matter.
When he says Rudyard, he's talking about What If Alt Hist.
And this doesn't require like a full scale battle where, you know, you're arming yourself and you're running at each other with guns and everything like that. We don't need to fight our battles that way anymore. It's a new type of civilizational warfare. You just need to capture the institutions in a way where the power transition becomes more ceremonial and less of a true democracy, which is kind of a dumb idea to begin with. That we should just do whatever the average person thinks. Like that made a lot of sense in our founders' time when it was like the average educated person.
No, yeah, that was never their plan. No.
Yeah.
It was landholding normies would get to vote for an elite person to decide for them.
Which I'm okay with that form of democracy. Like, let's go back to that, right?
Oh my God. Look, I like what you designed.
And see, like that right there. Landholding normies, like however she framed it, landholding normies can vote for a representative who will make decisions for them. Like this is completely within the liberal, political technology speaking, the liberal frame. That's like limited suffrage, limited franchise, tying it to property, capital, whatever. Having a chief executive. And see, here's the thing, is that the American system has always been built upon commerce. This is why America is the commercial center of the world. America is built on commerce. Commerce is in the blood of America. American governance structures are going to continue to reflect this reality. And it's perfectly consistent with all of this. This is I've come full circle on the Constitution. It's perfectly consistent with this to have a powerful chief executive who functions essentially with the power of a king, but he's just not called a king. He's going to be like, we were talking on the National Shareholder Republicanism. Hell yeah. We were talking about in the Discord the other day about how like AI Congress and like I made the point that by having a official national AI stack, you're actually establishing the pretext for AI Congress. And then this trend is going to continue here, where each region in the world is going to begin to like if you think about it in terms of just to try to like make it simple, imagine that America said that American AI was going to be Grok, and Europe said that European AI was going to be ChatGPT. Iterate through a couple of generations where everything in America is being built around the baseline premises that are encased within Grok and the functionality of Grok versus Europe doing the same with ChatGPT. You're creating two separate, discrete regions of the world that literally are they're operating on completely different software, both literally and metaphorically. So AI's effect is actually going to be an increase in, you might say nationalism, but it's not even nationalism per se. It's just going to be an increase in the walling off of particular given regions and developing a consensus around a basic set of propositions. And then continuing to iterate that consensus through those propositions. And so then the president becomes something akin to a chief prompter. Like I remember the article I read last week where you can have the super sophisticated like large language model, but ultimately it's going to depend upon the prompt and the prompter. The human is already involved, is always involved. The human is the thing that makes it go. And so then the president becomes effectively, his role is like the chief prompter. Maybe you call him the Trump. Just like the Caesar. J.D. Vance will be the second Trump. Trump 2.
more in the Pragmatist Guide to Governance.
I mean, the index allows for a system to grow slowly out of the techno-Puritan. So you don't have to be a techno-Puritan to be in the index. The index is a wider cultural network for basically everybody who's looking to fight back against the woke system, find spouses for their kids, everything like that. So the index isn't explicitly a techno-Puritan thing. It's just maintained by the techno-Puritan religious tradition because it was invented to be useful.
Okay, I'm glad you found that. Make sure it's charged. Don't take it outside.
If you're interested in how it works, it's not really relevant to most people how it works. It's a very complicated system. I designed it to be incredibly robust and have almost none of the problems of the existing governance systems that exist in the world today. It would be incredibly stable, like basically better form of democracy. I'm really quite proud of the design of it, but we don't need to go into that in this particular video. All that you need to know is it is a very robust thing, but it was not meant to work at the level of the United States government, right? Like it was meant to create a sort of a sub-governmental entity that could heavily influence voting patterns, everything like that, but that was like a society under society, right? Like a type of aristocratic network almost. And yeah, but I mean, this is where I think we're going with the quote unquote civil war. And I think if we don't get there, yeah, I think we've got like 2 to 3 election cycles to figure this out, right? Like that's it.
It worries me to see how crucial, like, and how key of a role that breakdown in communication was with these chimpanzees and how strikingly that's happening now. And I don't know, I mean, so like with the French Revolution, it happened very naturally because
another implication of AI here is that it is an extremely powerful consensus generating mechanism. And that's part of the problem of scaling. Like you go from the father with the family to the patriarch with the extended family to the clan with the chieftain, to the town with the mayor, to the state with the governor, to the president with the nation. Like at each level of scale here, the thing you need consensus building mechanisms that scale with the population. As you add on more and more nodes onto the network, how do you continue to maintain coherence and be able to establish a consensus as bloodlessly as possible? And the American system is actually pretty brilliant for being able to scale beyond like the state level to actually maintain a single nation comprised of 50 different states plus other protectorates and everything, and then having these other vassals and stuff that are being absorbed more completely into it, but maintaining its coherence through all of that. This is a revolutionary development in socio-political technology. And then AI is actually, and America has hardly even really leaned into the whole American system thing as well. We've barely scratched the surface because it's been like fighting with one hand behind our back the entire time. But as America begins to rediscover her soul, and if we can start stacking some presidential administration or some presidential terms worth of actually building in the American system direction, and then turbocharging that with AI as a consensus managing mechanism, the only real question is, are we going to have leaders that are wise men of good character or not? That's the thing that determines the prosperity and the future and the Christianization of America. That's the biggest thing.
Because of, I think maybe a key reason why this wasn't recognized as an issue in the past is that communication didn't exist to begin with. So an easy cause of civil war could just be something much simpler, like a breakdown in resources, or, the peasants not getting enough food or whatever it might be, or a very distinct disagreement about governance. But actually, I wish I could go back and study the Civil War in the United States to see if there was some breakdown in communication that could have contributed to that. It's just, I feel like this breakdown in communication is unprecedented and so weird in a time where communication should be easier than ever before. There are more people who are engaging in political discourse than we've ever had engaging in it.
Jim Bob Raid over on YouTube. What is up, everyone? The man is here himself. Jim Bob says, which one is the wife? Good question. Good question. Welcome, everyone. Yes, ChudCon. ChudConEvent.com. Go get your tickets now. Hold on. I'll have something for you. Just one moment.
They have every ability to reach out to people on the other side. We reach out to people on the other side all the freaking time. I just did, yesterday? You were like, reach out to, I'm not going to name who the person is, to have them on the podcast. They never get back to us. Like we try to have people on from other, like, we'll say affiliative groups come on. They won't talk to us. So even when we try, it makes me very worried. But yeah, now I'm with you and what I fault hist with Ruby Yard, as you call him. And
no, the thing is we need to win the Civil War. We need to stop thinking like, oh, when's the Civil War going to happen? And remember that the Civil War is not with guns, but it is war by building a large enough coalition that you can maintain power structures. And this is why the people on the right who push people out, who say, oh, the base gays can't be in our party.
That's so true. Yeah. Like, if you want to lose, don't communicate and try to freeze people out. That is the top way to make yourself not competitive.
Exactly. And the people on the right who say
this is just like, you could choose not to engage in the political process at all. You could just opt out and just leave politics to be controlled and dominated by your enemies. Like, you could choose to do that. But if you're going to engage in the game, then there are rules to the game. It operates according to like plainly obvious and apparent There's a structure to it. There's a code to it. And having someone in a political coalition with you is not the same thing as endorsing everything about them. But there's the instinct to try to whittle the coalition down around only the people who 100% agree with me on every single thing is the most self-defeating thing that someone could possibly engage in, particularly in the American political system. If you want to ensure the worst possible political outcomes, that's how you'll approach the political game. And there's a lot of people who like, you could just choose not to engage in the political game. I could respect that. That's fine. Just go about, focus on your life, do your own thing. But you can't do the like, oh, I'm just going to sit in the peanut gallery and I'm not going to be involved, but I'm going to constantly have an opinion on it and constantly be weighing in and agitating and trying to create memes and trying to demoralize people and split people apart and break up coalitions. Like, you're engaged in politics. If you're on the internet commentating on all of this, you're engaged in politics. You're just engaged in politics badly. You are a poor steward of the talents that have been given to you. Politics is a necessary and inevitable part of human organization. Building and maintaining governance structures is a Christian obligation. Like I said before, if a gay guy is going to vote for immigration restriction, if a gay guy is going to vote for mass deportations, I want the gay guy in my coalition. That doesn't mean I have to invite him in my bedroom. People like take politics both too seriously and not seriously enough. Trying to break apart the political coalition because of disagreements on this thing or that thing. When it like, what? What's the thing here? Like, we're not going to allow based gays into the coalition so that we will win and then gay will be outlawed or something. What? No, I don't want you part of the coalition. You like the gays. Oh, you believe in AI. That must mean you want a surveillance state. You can't be a part of my coalition. You're a libertarian. There's a reason why libertarians perform politically the way they do. Because that's how they approach it. They start with them like, I'm the center of the universe. Politics must simply conform to my whims. And I'm not going to do the things that would be necessary to actually ultimately generate that outcome. I'm not going to play the long game. It's the definition of cutting off your nose to spite your face.
say this stupid, like, oh, the Colorado effect or whatever, which is like, oh, you give them an inch, like they went left on like marijuana issues, and then they became much more left on other issues. And it's like, no, they were like the first state to go left on marijuana, so everybody moved there. Like, that's not an effect that's going to be replicated at the level of a country. You buffoon, you imbecile. Like, how can you not put that together? This is exactly like a conversation that you're going to see at the end of this, where I say that a certain group seems to not be able to tell the difference between something happening in one location and then being like, but this other location isn't, like, life isn't a storybook with like rhyming plots or something like that.
A certain group. Gold star to anyone who guesses who that group's going to be.
You have to look at the actual reasons that a thing happened. And if those reasons aren't applicable in scenario B, then you're being a fucking idiot and you're shooting us in the foot, right? And it's important to remember that the people we need to win the most are the tech lords. And so knowing what their interests are and what their red lines are in terms of how accepting we need to be as a party is incredibly important. And like the two hard lines that they typically have are, well, they have a few. One is being incredibly anti-Semitic. That will immediately wipe the tech lords out of your vote. You're not going to get them on board with you because just their world involves a lot of working with Jews. And if you're a smart tech lord type person and you're playing 3D chess, you're like, obviously we need a high fertility, high technology population on our side, right? Like that's the group that matters, like, a lot to the tech lords. You can say you're not okay with gayness, or even that gayness, like gay marriage, should be illegal in the United States, but being specifically antagonistic or mean or having gay people or same-sex attracted people not feel safe in your communities, that will absolutely lose you the tech lords. And being anti-science will absolutely lose you the tech lords. Just being like, oh, I'm against genetic research. Oh, I'm against cloning research. Oh, I'm against you. It's one thing to say I'm against it for my community. It's another thing to say it should be banned. And again, why do the
So there's things like this here, like the genetic research and cloning and some of these things that they're comfortable with that I very much not. But there's also a time, like he's pointing out here, you've got to be able to have the, I don't know, mental acuity. Maybe it's an IQ thing, agility, ability to model like different circumstances, to recognize when you can fight which battle. If your goal is to outlaw these sorts of things, if you want to see these sorts of things banned, the only way you can do that is through the weaponization of political power, which means you have to be able to acquire political power in the first place. If you don't have political power, then trying to ban something is covert advocacy for it. I'm going to say that again. If you don't have political power, then trying to use your lack of political power to ban something is functionally covert advocacy for the thing you're trying to ban. There are different times for different fights. And again, if this sort of thing makes you squeamish, if you're uncomfortable with it, if you don't like it, then you can just opt out of the game. You can just not play. But be quiet. Go away. You're not involved. You can't get involved, but then say you're not involved, but then be involved, but then also not be involved. Once again, now you're just being you're like, it's like emotionally driven squandering of the talents that you've been given to steward. It's funny that all of the people who are generally like libertarian minded or came to wound up in these places because of through libertarian thinking, that sort of thing, they wind up engaging with politics in the most high time preference ways imaginable. Like, I need the everything button pressed now, or we're just going to burn everything down. I need every possible base solution presented and enforced immediately, or I'm going to go roll around in the street. Oh, if things don't get solved by the next election, then we're not going to have a country anymore. Okay, so what are you going to do when we have a country after the next election? What are you going to do when you still have to wake up and go to work and you've still got kids to take care of and you're going to plan the family vacation? What are you going to do then? You made this prediction that we're not going to have a country anymore. People have been predicting for generations now. Oh, we're the last generation. Every generation has this conceit. But spoiler alert, we're going to have a country after the next election. We're going to have one after that too. And after that one. And after the next one. And the next one. And the next one. America's not going anywhere. American politics isn't going anywhere. And what's wrong with American politics is the absence of wise Christian men. Part of wisdom is recognizing which battle to fight when and in which domain. Knowing how to steward capital. Recognizing that melodramatically declaring doom on your own nation on social media is not wise political action. This isn't the behavior of a wise Christian man. What do your actions, what outcomes do your actions actually generate? The nation is suffering for a lack of sober, prudent Christian leadership. Like I said in the episode last week, the instinct to treat politics as like, like the whole, we don't talk about religion and politics at the table, and politics is like yucky and gross, and that's where like all the corrupt people are, and they're just all like gay and like fucking kids, and anybody who's in that is sketchy and sus. This is feminine behavior. This is the longhouse. The people who talk that way are a bunch of nattering hens. Politics is the domain for men, which is why women think it's yucky, and why feminized men mirror that. The people who talk about American politics that way, just full of cynicism and resentment and disgust, and it's impotent signaling, and it's gay. And I'm not just saying that as an insult. I'm saying that as that. But definitionally, you are spiritually transgender. You think it's yucky and gross because you've been so fully consumed by the longhouse that you've lost perspective of a man's proper role in his community. And particularly at scale. We need more people more engaged. We need more good Christian men running for political office and doing it prudently. Not just going out and being like, I'm going to see how much of an edgelord I can be. We've got enough edgelords. We need like they were talking about earlier, we need the mediators. We need the people who can talk to anybody. What did Tikon say? Was it Tikon? No, it was Vance Thurian. JD is a chameleon because he's so our guy, he has to fake it most of the time. 135 IQ, racist but friendly. That's the calling. The IQ thing you may not be able to help. But 135 IQ, racist but friendly. Be the racist who can get along with anybody. Who can hang out in any circle. We need the mediators. It's interesting that Trump is very much a divider. Trump is like he's like the sword that cuts through the Gordian knots. He's the one who divides and rouses up the passions and gets everyone all riled up and forces them to show their hand, and they scatter to their different corners. And then following on from him is going to be JD, who's like the master networker, the master of mediating between all of these different factions. A heavy burden is going to be on his shoulders to be able to do that effectively. Like Patrick Casey says, he needs to believe in his own power. And again, not in like a Nietzschean way. He needs to believe in his capacity to be courageous and to manage the moments in front of him, to carry the burden that's being placed upon him by other people who are going to trust in him. This is why in every Orthodox church, every single Sunday, we pray for our elected officials. Not because it's like, oh, they're all so fucked up and they've committed so many great sins that I'm going to do my pious Christian duty and pray for their souls. No, we pray for their wisdom, that they will have wisdom to conduct their offices appropriately. Those offices aren't going away. There's not going to be a post-politics world. Everyone's just like sitting around eating peanuts and popcorn and think that they're watching the world burn down around them, and they get some sort of bizarre glee out of it. And it's gross. I love my country. I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud of my ancestors, my heritage that brought me to this point. I don't hate the generations that came before me. They made their own mistakes. But I've come full circle on all of them. Even the Gen Xers. That one might have been the hardest. But you know what? Gen Xers are people too. It's not good to hate your ancestors. Blaming everything on the boomers. The American Empire is just getting underway. We've only just begun to scratch the surface. And we need more good men who see what's coming and aren't going to, metaphorically speaking, step over a dollar to pick up a penny. We need the men who are going to build, the men who are going to take responsibility. Not just critics in the peanut gallery. We need people to solve problems, not just point them out. You must build something, Anon. Living Dead says, hating your ancestors is exactly what the left wants you to do. Severing continuity goes both directions, and they're equally under attack. Yes. Yes. Dewes McGee says it's only a nominal sentiment to the Kohlers to be patriotic. It's a thin veil over a paradigm of some form of idealism and self-group preservation. Aussie scene!
I could get along with every race. I get along with Khan after all. But one race of people are so vile, depraved, and uncultured that I cannot tolerate. I'm talking, of course, about communists.
So true, Aussie Steen!
Boner alert!
Trump's a Jew!
A shekel for a good guy.
Let's go. Come on. Get in. Let's go. Pwah.
Thank you, Aussie Steen. $177.60. You just delighted Mrs. Kingpilled. What a patriot. Good to see you, Aussie Steen. Living Dead says, anyone who has worked with a really, really smart guy in a factory or a construction site, whatever, has met the 135 IQ friendly racist. The archetype extracts and can be winded and modeled. Yes! Yes, so true. Some of the best people I know are 135 IQ friendly racists. We're going to rehabilitate the racists, boys. Yeah, Street Buster.
It's important to segregate.
So true. So true. It's so important to segregate. The YouTube chat was flying over here, and I was ranting. I wasn't able to keep up with all the comments from the Jortlandians. But thank you guys for joining us. I have one last thing to show you guys here. You've heard about ChudCon. Check this out.
Attention, men of exquisite cultural tastes. Somewhere along the way, we all just got busy. But it's time to get the boys back together.
They fall in line, one at a time, ready to play.
I see myself!
No time to lose, we've got to move. Steady Fire your girls, it's time to hurl. Blow me away. I will stay unless I
Boys, chudconevent.com. Get your tickets. We have through the end of the month. What is that? 4 more days. Through the end of the month, you can get $100 off. $150 only for the weekend. You don't want to miss this. You don't want to miss this. There will be more ChudCons, but there will never again be a first ChudCon. Will the king of the Zoomers be there? I guess you'll have to find out. Perhaps. Perhaps not. But perhaps. It's going to be a great time. You know, sometimes the boys just need to just go out in the woods together. Just get down and dirty and flex their muscles and engage in competition. That's what ChudCon is going to be about. There'll be music, there'll be booze, bonfires, lawn games, wrestling, feats of strength. ChudConEvent.com, Labor Day weekend in Northern Virginia. It's only $250 to get in, except for through the end of the month, $150, $100 off, as long as you go sign up now at ChudConEvent.com. And let me just bring your attention to one particular thing here at ChudConEvent.com. That's ChudConEvent.com. If you want to attend, but you don't have the money, I can think of two types of people who wouldn't attend. Those who want to be there, really, really want to be there, but don't have the money. If you're one of those, one of the poor chuds, we love our poor chuds. There's a little button right here. Apply for a sponsored ticket. You should click that button and fill it out. Let us know why you deserve special treatment in the official ChudCon charity sponsorship program. We'll review it and see whether we can make things work out for you. The other type of person might be someone who really, really wants to be there, but already has plans, already committed for the weekend. Something very important with the family that maybe be the only thing that could top ChudCon. But you want to support the cause, and you want to sponsor a chud. Well, there's a little button here. It says sponsor a ticket. You can go do that, and then some poor, poverty-stricken chud might be able to meet strange men from the internet in the woods of Northern Virginia. So please buy a ticket, sponsor a ticket, or apply for a sponsored ticket. We'll see if we can hook you up with one. Once again, this is Labor Day weekend this year in the Appalachian woods of Northern Virginia. America only turns 250 once. You need to go find your tribe. Go connect with the boys and make memories that will last a lifetime. It's intended to be intimate. It's intended to be small, cozy. Place for you to make some friends, for the boys to make some plans. Maybe record some secret internet content. Who knows? Yeah, you need to get in proximity to Patriots. Living Dead says, is there an itinerary? There is. We'll be releasing it very, very soon. There will be an itinerary, and There's going to be competitions. There's going to be rewards for the competitions. The event is sponsored by Sport Drink. You will have free sport drink to drink while you're there. And rumor has it that it may even have something to do with the new EWBSX platform that is soon to be released to the general public. It's in the beta. We've got our collection of beta males testing everything out, pulling all the levers, cranking all the gears, making sure it works, abusing Daryl in the process, the Neganome. It'll soon be released to the public, and rumor has it that it's going to have some sort of an integration with ChudCon. So once again, chudconevent.com, chudconevent.com. Get your ticket. Get in for $150 through July. Then regular admission will be $250. And then there's also, if you don't have camping equipment or you don't want to travel with it, then there are some extra little bonuses you can get. You can add on camping gear for $50. We'll provide you the camping gear. You can also get hot showers if you're more of a glamping type. You could even get a hot shower out in the woods. Don't ask where the hot liquid comes from. And then also there'll be a special commemorative limited edition ChudCon t-shirt only available for those who are there at the event. You can get that add-on as well. So go to chudconevent.com, sign up, go join the Kingpill Discord, kingpill.com. Follow me on X at Kingpilled. Please subscribe to the show. Make sure you go to Astrolabe Clips on YouTube. Great friend of the show, Caradwin, has been killing it over there, clipping up these long streams into bite-sized chunks. So go to Astrolabe Clips on YouTube. Subscribe over there. And I'll be back tomorrow for another episode of the Astrolabe. Until then, I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America